NUFC Early Night News with Gary the Geordie Yum Yum, Andrew Bokey, Christina Cage, and Derek the Mighty Wind. Weekdays from 8 p.m. UK, 2 p.m. USA. NUFC Talk.
Good evening, welcome one and all to NUFC Talk with myself, the Geordie Yum Yum, Gaza, we've got Christina Tooney, we've got Bokey. We will have the mighty win as soon as he's back from putting his X in a box, and we may have DX as well on the show again when he gets back from work. His loan spell is off, so he's coming back and he's going to sit on the bench for a bit. Ladies and gentlemen, we're good on this Thursday. Again, we've got some breaking news coming in, some old news as well to go over. Are we well?
Good.
Extremely well, thank you for asking. How are you with your brand new snazzy haircut?
Yes, my ears have been lowered, as you can see. I had to go and get it cut, man. My hair grows outwards these days when it gets a bit curly. It doesn't grow down, it grows out. I was looking more like the Mad Professor. I probably sound more like the Mad Professor at times. But anyway, that's a totally different story. And like I say, interesting game on tonight because obviously it's Villa versus the Forest. So I'm going to have a quick glancing onto that one to see how they set up and see what happens in that one. So let's get on with the show. So good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the show. The only Newcastle United channel where the transfer strategy currently appears to be sell everyone, but also buy everyone. Honestly, this football club is now being run like somebody's checking their banking app after a night out in the big market. We've got UEFA sniffing around the accounts, SCR rules tighter than Mike Ashley's wallet strings. Anthony Gordon's been flirted with by Bayern Munich. Darwin Nunez suddenly available on a free. And after 6 months in Saudi exile, and somehow we're still linked with James Trafford for the third straight summer. At this point, Trafford's probably got a season ticket in the Leazy's end. Meanwhile, Forest have turned into 1970s Brazil under Vitor Pereira, while Newcastle are trying to convince us floodlights are the solution to finishing 13th. Unbelievable scenes. Right, so let's get into it. Segment one then, the reality of Newcastle's summer. I mean, you look at it, according to the reports today that's come out, there's no 200 million summer spending spree. SCR restrictions now replacing PSR panic. Two budgets, Europe, no Europe. Howe hinting at controlled recruitment. So it's going to be interesting. Howe did make a key quote. He says, drip feed approach for the best chance of consistent success. Not seeing much of that this year. I mean, last summer felt like supermarket sweep. This summer feels more like counting coupons at Aldi, as this is really a check for Newcastle. I mean, it is crazy when you think about it. Guys, I mean, I'm all for stability, and I think that is what's needed in any club to move forward and progress. And I think Newcastle, as we hear probably more now, since the doors have been left ajar for information to seep through, it seems as though there's been very little stability, and it has been a bit of a free-for-all. Do you think too many changes has damaged the chemistry this year?
I think a lot of the players that were brought in last season had to be brought in. So, we'd already decided that Longstaff was going to go, so we needed to bring a replacement in for him. We'd already decided, Miggy had already gone, so I had to bring somebody in for him. I had to bring two strikers in. We had to bring the two players that we did. But I think the big worry is Eddie Howe, if he's thinking this, is burying his head in the sand, because we need just as many players this season, if not more. So, if he's seeing 6 players as too many, potentially we need maybe 8 or 9 this window, which is a massive rebuild of any club, really. And I know we discussed it the other day, and we mentioned Forest and Sunderland, but they were teams coming up out the Championship, so they had to buy new players. They had to have players in. But for us, we've had good players already, so it's a difficult window, especially if he's not thinking of buying. I mean, how many players does Eddie Howe think we need? 4, 5? That's not going to work.
No. I think, like I said, you can count it as luck. You can count it as very good judgment. from previous windows, and I think when you go through so many windows without buying a player or moving players on, there is a stagnancy within any football club. And I think, when you then become that bumper boy, let's go out and just throw money at anybody and everybody, you do unfortunately start getting your arm levied up your back. And again, we were put in a corner, especially with Wissa. He could have and should have probably been, as you said yesterday, buddy, no more than 35, 40 max if you were going to have add-ons. That's what you should have been with. But that should have been dealt with early on, rather than being, like I say, targeted last-minute 11th hour window. Tina, do fans...
Wynn's looking good, isn't he?
He is very good. He's looking very young. Welcome to DX in the panel tonight. It's nice to have you on board.
That's it's good to see you. I've replaced Wynn this week. I replaced Christina last week.
Yeah, exactly. Wynn, like I say, Wynn will be back in a minute. Like I say, he's gone out to do his. Indeed. Tina, do fans? I'm going to come to you in a minute, DX. Do fans need to lower their expectations when it comes to Newcastle United?
I would say some. Thanks for throwing me under the bus for this one, because I'm going to do the popular one. I would say some fans probably do. I think this season's been a bit of a reality check. And look, I've got obviously lower expectations than Bogey, for example, but it doesn't mean that I lack ambition. I would love it if Newcastle United are to fulfil the prophecy, so to speak, and by 2030 we are challenging for the title. I would love us to fill out that trophy cabinet with a few more trophies, and I'd love us to be in Champions League every single year. The reality of the situation is that our squad needs some work, and the restrictions that are there seem to affect us more than most, because we are of the teams who have been floating around, putting pressure on the top six, so to speak. We are the ones who have got the richest owners in the world. We are the ones with the massive fan base and the tendency to get carried away with football. Like football's a big thing up here. Like it affects people's full mood for like days and days and days, depending on the result. And I think everybody was kind of on cloud nine for a few years. We had our club back, we had an identity, we had something to be proud of. And this season's kind of brought that crashing down a bit, and I think a lot of the fan reaction has been that. But my stance since I joined this channel was that, okay, this season has been bad, and I'm not going to shy away from that. But at the same time, over the past few years, where people have still been asking for change and still been asking for us to be better and still been asking for us to develop quicker, my viewpoint is that we've been eating pretty good. Like, we should be enjoying what we've got at the moment, because at the drop of a hat, investors can change. We could end up with another, sports shop owner who then decides to rinse us for the next 10 years. So I think just kind of quelling the expectations. Yes, be ambitious. Yes, want us to be the best team in the world. But, accept the position that we're in would kind of be my advice.
Well, I had a couple of questions for Wynn, but I'm going to throw it all in one little umbrella, if you like, for DX, because he loves this type of information. The club is now forced into smarter recruitment, and it's stuff that we've been asking for, because now European scouting finally is becoming a priority. Apparently, we've yet to see the fruits of the truth on this one. So let's see what happens. But the question I want to ask you, DX, is whether SCR kills ambition of clubs. And obviously raises concern over selling stars every summer, because obviously we're in that treading water zone when it comes to not elite side, not relegation side. We're a mid team regarding stability within the Premier League. And again, we're looking at the likes of the Brightons, the Bournemouths, the Brentfords. I feel we're much bigger than that. But the way the club are acting at this present moment in time, with all the noise that comes from that, it seems very much as though now we are being forced into, if a big name comes in, we've got to sell a big name.
Yeah, I've seen that, this sell before you buy thing that's kind of floating around. I think it's inevitable, isn't it? It's unfortunate that there's a part of it might be a knee jerk reaction to the previous summer window where we did spend all that money and most of it hasn't paid off really this season. A lot of it's been, spent on those three attacking players that haven't. Well, Voltemada is a bit unfortunate, but the other two have really not worked out at all. And that was almost half the what was spent was on those two players. And I think now, obviously, we're having to pivot into being more trading, which we haven't done very well actually. Like in terms of sales, we haven't been great with that. Apart from the Isak one, where I think 130 million for Isak can't really knock that at this point. But I think some of the other sales, like we've been too slow to make them, so we've ended up getting probably a lot less than we could, or got nothing for Wilson, things like that. I understand why we kept those players, but at the same time, you have to be quite forward thinking, I think, with the way that we're going to have to deal versus Chelsea or Man United, who have such huge turnovers that they can afford a few mistakes. We can't afford too many in my face. We can't afford too many Alangas, and then we are going to sort of struggle and have some problems. So I think
Yeah.
and to be fair, like the first couple of windows under PIF, or the first 4 windows really, they were fantastic. Like the signings that we made were pretty much all hits. There was the odd Matt Target, but it wasn't a big flop. He's 12.
But he was hit on loan, wasn't he? I mean, it wasn't as if he wasn't hit.
Yeah,
I mean, he showed promise.
on
Yeah,
loan,
he showed some promise.
but when he
Yeah.
signed 5 million, he was a bit of a flop. But yeah, I think then obviously one bad window really is, we can say the ones where we had to sell are bad, but in terms of buying, one bad window, and it shows you it's so fickle. We have to be so spot on with the transfers. Now, I do think maybe the Bournemouth Brighton method might not be a bad little move to make a transition. So I'm all for it, actually. I'm quite excited about the idea that we'd go in and get 7 or 8 really exciting players, and for 20 million, 25 million, take a risk on that maybe.
Yeah, I mean, like, exactly how you explained it there. And I agree with it. I think there has to be a little bit of headroom, and yes, we can't go into another window and have as many flops that seem to have happened this year. And again, it looks very much as though with Eddie Howe, again, rumours say that the front two will move on. They think Whistle will go out on loan, and Voltemada, depending on the next 3 games, will seek a move elsewhere. But again, if you look at and you listen to the German market, Bayern Munich don't want him anymore. And again, you don't know whether that's just because they expect the cost to have dropped a little bit. And I think we'll come into the Anthony Gordon bits and pieces in a second. The mighty Win enters the building through the back door.
Good evening. Apologies for my tardiness. I've been conducting my civic duty.
Indeed. You've thrown your X in the boxer.
And my ex.
You've been doing community service, Win.
3 X.
Yeah, you're supposed to have taken.
Community
I love
service
that.
is on a different day.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I love that, and well done. I was just having a quick look. There's a Yorkshire Evening Post has dropped something. I'll come back to that in a second. Win, I'm going to ask you this one. I was going to throw it out to the fans, but I'm going to ask you this one. Would you accept a quieter summer if it meant long-term stability?
No, can't have a quiet summer. It's been apparent this season that we need reinforcements. We need some new blood, some fresh blood, injection of something. And whilst I'm not a great fan of Wissa going out on loan, because I still think he can come good, we need a big turn, just simply from the players that we're going to be losing. They all need replacing, and they need to be replaced with at least 3 players for me who are challenging, if not more or less guaranteed, challenging first team places. Not bench fillers. We need players who are going to walk into that team for me. Now you can take
Yeah.
a chance on the 25, 35 million pound foreigner somewhere and hope that he's going to do that. You know, and hope that we can get another Bruno, another Isaac, another Botman. But nothing's guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed.
Everybody in the chat saying you're a little bit quiet, dude. If you can turn your mic up a little bit, that'll be great. I don't.
I will check it out.
Yeah, I mean, I can hear you quite well, but obviously you're probably coming through TV a little bit on the loud side. What's the guest media talk? There's every chance Walt will be here next season. Listen, I'm only reading from what's out there, and again, if you look in Sky Germany, where there's lots of reports, Voldemort ain't happy, and like I say, he's waiting to see what happens over these next 3 games because of game time. Now, you know, we don't want another Isaac situation, and I think that is where Newcastle have to be very, very careful when it comes to both forwards. I mean, like I say, with Wissa, you could probably get him out on loan. You could probably do that with Voldemort, if I'm honest with you. But for a lad of Voldemort's age compared to Wissa, he would probably want some stability in his career. And like I said, he's probably wooded now. Go on.
How could we possibly justify having Wissa or Voldemort out on loan? You know, how could you justify spending £55 million last year on a player, or spending £69 million last year on this player, then sending them out on loan? You know, you have to develop the team to play the players that you've bought. That's the problem. It's not the players themselves. The players themselves haven't shone in glory. I agree, but nor has the team been changed around to play their style of football. That's what we need. We need a change in style of football so that these lads can get into the team. You don't get rid of the players if you've got good players. You change your system. And that's what's always happened over the years.
Yeah. Listen,
No.
we have never...
you think we should just stick to the same system next year, Win? You think we should stick exactly
the best football I've ever seen in my life is playing this system. Now, people say it is...
Really? It's winning football, but is it the best football you've seen in your life?
People say it's not sustainable. I'm 22, 23 is the best season I have ever watched, and that was all based on intensity as our identity, high press football, and that's what I absolutely loved. I cannot stand this tippy-tappy pendulum nonsense.
I don't agree with how we're playing now at all, but I certainly don't think 22-23 was the best ever season I've seen.
Well,
it was a good season. It was a good season, but we didn't play brilliant football. We've never under Eddie Howe played amazing football.
We had the best defence in the league. We lost 4 games in the season, and we went from relegation fodder to Champions League.
Hey, I'm not saying results weren't there. I'm not saying it wasn't.
The football was there, man. 4-1, 5-1, 4-1, 4-1.
Hang on. How many 4-1s, 5-1s did we have that season?
Not as many as you're remembering.
Not as many as you're remembering. You know, it was good football in regards to it was winning football. We were getting the results because of the high press, things like that. But it wasn't the best football I've ever seen. It was far from it, to be honest.
So
I think the
which
football.
Which season, like what season did you think was our best playing that you've seen?
Well, you're gonna know what I'm gonna go with there.
4-1 Fulham, 5-1 Brentford.
You're gonna go
4-0 Aston Villa, 4-1 Southampton, 3-0 Leicester, 5-1 West Ham, 6-1 Tottenham, 4-1 Everton, 4-1 Brighton and Hove Albion. He'll do it for me.
That's quite a lot.
In regards to it, though, the best football for me came under Keegan and under Robson. They played the best football.
That was when we were the biggest spenders in the league. We're not that now.
But hang on. That's not what we're discussing at the minute. We're not arguing that point. We're not talking about spending money. And I'm not saying it wasn't a good season. I'm not calling Eddie Howe out in any way. What I'm saying is, though, the best football I've seen was under Robson and was under Keegan. You know,
not under Robson, under Keegan.
Under Keegan, I'd say, yeah.
You can disagree in regards to who spent the most money and things like that, but actual football, you're saying the best football you've ever seen was 22-23.
Yeah.
I'm saying I don't agree with that. And you've just said under Keegan, yes.
I think
Under Keegan, maybe, because there were some bad games then as well. But the difference was, under Keegan, we had the budget to back that football, to back getting the top players.
That's not the point I'm making. The point
None of what's the point I'm
the
making.
best football.
We're not
is
there.
the best football.
Yeah, but I think. I mean, listen. There's no. This is football. There's no wrong or right. You know, everybody will see seasons in different views. I agree with what Boki said. I think, you know, the Keegan era. The only difference for me is you didn't have the quality in the league depth-wise. You know, there was only really two big teams going for it. I mean, you look at Chelsea, they didn't actually come on board until the millennium. Same as Arsenal. Arsenal weren't actually fighting for the Premier League title back then. I think it was 2003, 2004 before Arsenal came into the frame. So Newcastle were one of the bigger guns back then, and should be, you know, with the money, as Wynne says. You're both right. You know, they both they play good football because of one of the highest spending in the Premier League regarding players. So that's the argument. Yeah, that's the argument, isn't it? You know,
I think the difference is as well, there was different styles of football back there. Teams didn't play exactly the same as each other. Now,
it was 4-4-2. Everybody played 4-4-2.
But but I'm saying there was different styles of play. Now you kind of get how players are going to play.
Yeah, I mean, good teams played through the middle. You know, very few played. Well, a lot of players played. A lot of teams, I should say, played with fast wingers. You know, and then lots of teams also went, you know, long. You know, I ball over the top and tried to do it that way. So you're right, mate. I mean, like I say, there were so many different
and there were more
different styles of play.
Gary, there was more like Matthew Letizia, Ginola, Cantona. You had these players who could just do something magical on a.
Yeah, the individual performances regarding, like you say, certain players. I mean, you know, you Cantona's of the world. I mean, he looked so lazy and so lethargic at times, and yet, you know, he could just stand still and perform, couldn't he? And there's very few of those in the world. You want to do Adz's super chat, dude?
Yeah. You're saying, who plays the most boring football? Us under Eddie. Right now, you're right now, I can't argue.
Has been dull, some dull football. Yeah, you have to.
Right now, yeah. But if you're talking 22, 23, not a chance.
Yeah, but again, that also had its bearing on the side, didn't it? You know, with the injuries and everything else that were
had
told.
Its bearing on the following season.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
We were riddled with injuries, and that's because in 22, 23, we didn't have the squad then to carry that intensity, you know, throughout the season, because we're relying on more or less the same 15 players to do the lot. And I see no reason why you can't have that football, but have a better squad to call upon.
We've got better squad.
Can we not go back to this season? Why are we in the situation we are this season then?
Because we didn't have a striker, and we had a.
Hang on, we didn't have a striker for bloody 5 games at the start of the season. We had strikers after that, so take that one out of the equation. Stop all this bull about strikers not being available.
I'm not going to.
We've had strikers available for the majority of this season. We haven't had major issues with injuries in the squad. Yes, we've been hit hard in certain positions, but we've never had major issues. What's the excuse for this season? Because
I'm telling you what the excuse is.
We only had 14 players.
We've had no decent strikers.
We've got £129 million strikers sitting on the bench. We've got a German international. We've got a Congo international.
Yeah,
you know,
one of which hasn't been fit for the majority of the season, and the other one hasn't adapted yet to the Prem.
But why did we buy Wissa for so much money? Because he was Premier League proven. You know,
because he was getting 19 goals a season without a penalty.
So why has that changed when he gets here?
Because he got injured.
Yeah, but he got injured, but he's been back for 4 months now. Why is that? Why is he not scoring now?
He's never been injured before. He's 29 years old.
Do you think they might have rushed him back a bit? I get the feeling he was rushed back because we were desperate for, as you put it, a silver bullet. So maybe he hadn't had that almost like pre-season thing that they were talking about. He came in, he scored a couple of tap-ins, and I think it was like, oh, okay, he's ready.
The whole pre-season was a nightmare, man.
Yeah, and then
No, I mean, I think that was the. If you look at the pre-season, I think that was the preview to the show because it hasn't really got better from there, hasn't it? And to be honest with you, I still think there's been a lot more emphasis on cup competitions this season than there has league. I think what they've tried to do is throw the mixed bag out there, thinking that we're good enough still to be in a European place. And realistically, there is no reason, but when you think of the amount of points we have lost from winning positions, why they still... And it's been a poor season for everybody else. You know, it's not just Newcastle this season that have struggled. There's been lots of teams struggling.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, Villa are on a downward slope now. Yeah.
And then they've got a big cap to 6. You think how that, because they've lost 11 games, Villa, in the league. I mean, they could end up losing 14 games and getting 5th place, which is unbelievable, really.
You look at the money that Chelsea have spent, the amount of debt they're in, the money that Liverpool has spent. Yes, it was only over one season, if you like, because they'd gone clear 2 seasons without buying anybody. But previously, they'd been buying quite expensive players. So, you know, cumulatively, Newcastle threw all their eggs in one basket in one window. If this had been spread out over the multiple windows that we hadn't spent money because we couldn't spend money, maybe a different animal that we're looking at now, and we may be talking totally different rather than the way it is at the moment.
Maybe if our manager hasn't huffed and went and got rid of the director of football who was there to sort out the transfer window, would have had a better transfer window. You know, we keep going at this from the angle of, you know, it's other people's fault. You know, you've got to look at it. We had a director of football in place.
Keep on coming back to the only person to blame is Eddie.
Do you think he got rid of him, or do you think it was a bit of a mutual thing where Mitchell sounded like he upset a few people, he put a few noses out of joint, not just Eddie Howe's, but a bit of a bull in a china shop vibe. Maybe he wasn't quite the right guy for where we are. I don't know. Like he had the same thing at Tottenham as well, where he got put on gardening leave for 20 months or 19 months because he fell out with all the people there. So maybe this is a bit of a habit with Mitchell. Although he did some good things too. He did bring in some kids that are doing quite well. So I don't know.
Well, I'm still researching that, by the way.
I just think I don't understand why we had this situation where a manager's got sort of so much power over a club. You know, that's what needs to change here. We need to have, and hopefully that's what's happening this window. You have Wilson takes over the transfer side of it, and hey, if Eddie's on the training ground getting players ready for playing, that's great. Get with strikers so they can actually score goals. Get them set up so that we play a system that works for them. You know, so get the right people, right place, right times. They'll answer this same transfer window.
Or cut your losses and say these players are never going to fit our system. Get them out and get somebody in who will.
But so basically, we just go around this cycle that we have to get Eddie Howe type players. The only way that it works with Eddie Howe is if it's his exact type players that play in this team.
I think that's probably a valid comment.
What was Christina going to say there? You were going to say something.
It doesn't matter.
No, go on.
No.
Go on. You sure? Go on, fly it out there.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Right, I'm going to move on because, like I say, it seems to be the same old, and we've got quite a bit to get through. So, UEFA problems is the next one. UEFA restrictions could limit spending, restrict transfer flexibility, and block swap-style accounting benefits, if you like. We've seen it before when you have, with the Forest, swap deals. Aston Villa have done it in the past. Chelsea have done it in the past. The key problem now is selling it to Saudi clubs doesn't help UEFA calculations. So if Newcastle find themselves in a bit of a sticky situation, UEFA have ruled now that any third party or transactions linked to the club will not be counted in any of the financial discussion when it comes to whether you've crossed the border or not. So basically Newcastle discovered that about 47 different financial rule books, and every single one of them hate us, if I'm honest with you. Tina, club paying for aggressive early spending. I mean, do you think the club need to go out there and highlight these European players that aren't going to come for the 50 million bucks as we've seen last summer? Can't keep doing that under this new UEFA guideline. Is that what you think is where Newcastle need to be spending the money?
I mean, I think Newcastle just need to, in regards to, have we already like found players who are going to come in for less money than we were spending last season? I would hope that we've already got some names in mind. I mean, the scouting staff and the recruitment staff have surely been doing that job the whole, hopefully since January ended, and before that, because they were all here before that window even opened. I don't think there's any good getting to the transfer window itself and then being like, okay, let's have a little look what's available. Like, we need to have some sort of idea in there now. Obviously, we're aware of the rules that's in place. I don't think we ever really did anything that UEFA would be iffy about anyway. Like, we weren't doing any of the sort of, like, the deals that a few of our fans would have kind of hoped that we would have done, like, with our connections. So I think all we need to do is just kind of have a plan if our budget is based on getting into some sort of European competition, just in case, but also have things set out for the rules that are there. If you're not in a European competition, that's set by being in the Premier League. And if we don't have that recruitment already done and we don't have names in mind, then this summer's probably going to be as long and hard as last one.
Yeah,
well,
potentially. Yeah,
very much looking forward to it. Very much looking forward to next season. I think we all are.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Forget about this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Boki, do smarter clubs adapt quicker in the transfer market than the likes of Newcastle have in the past? I mean, we've noticed that there's a lot of clubs have already signed, sealed and delivered some of these players, especially, South American players, well before the end of June. Is that something that Newcastle need to be doing now? Making sure they've got the pen on paper and triggering the response literally on the 1st of July?
I think, let's think about it. I mean, Isaac to a point, but which players have we went out and bought a player where they've become an absolute gem from being a nothing? And they've started in our first team. I mean, I think we've done it maybe for another team that I can think of. But which teams have we bought a player from and paid a little bit of money? I mean, Osula, I suppose you could say a little bit, but apart from that, Malik Chow, but we still paid good money for Malik Chow. We still paid good money for them.
Not really. 35 million today is
the problem. You see,
but you
look upon 35 million now as kind of peanuts.
But what I'm saying is, which team have we went out to and bought an unknown player, a complete unknown, for like 10, 15 million, and they became good in the team? None. That's what we need to be doing. That's what we need to be finding. And hey, they might not be. They might not
just
be,
like that.
There you go.
10 million.
3 million for Shaw was as cheap as chips, wasn't it?
We're not the only team
I give up.
that's
I
got
give
a
up
scouting
because.
network.
But what's the point in going out and just keep on buying Premier League players who are failing with? Eddie Howe can't develop them, so why not get young players in? Take them little chances.
Well, that's what the idea is this season, isn't it?
100%. That's exactly.
I guess Pope and Trippier would be the two that come to mind, wouldn't they? Like in terms of cheap sign, 10 million, 12 million. Dan Burn.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I don't think, like Brian says there, I don't think you'll ever beat the 3 million we spent for Shaw and his development and continued development. I think he's been an absolute class signing for Newcastle. If I'm honest with you.
Hang on. With Shaw, come to him for a second. I think all of us on this panel will admit when Shaw first came in, he wasn't a great defender. He used to have more ricks in him than Chow has. He used to drop balls every couple of games. He's developed into a better defender, which is great. But that's the type of thing you need to do. You need to buy players young or younger from different leagues that people don't know and develop them. Not just go with this tried and tested. 78% of players coming into the club have played in the Premier League before.
So, I mean, that if you look at it, right, across the board now, across all of the Champions League teams, say, every team will have a player that doesn't fit the bill. Every team. And it doesn't matter where they've come from, what club they've come from. The likes of Shaw, you're probably seeing Shaw adapt better with better players around him, because what he has to do is achieve better. And he has to adapt his game to prove his worth. Some players can do that. And I think Fabian Shaw has been that player. He has been the one that has shown. Yeah, you're right. He's had bad moments. But for the money it cost Newcastle, what was it, back in 2017 when we bought him?
Yeah, I think it was 9 years.
I'm not getting into a situation where I'm calling Fabian Shaw out, but I'm just saying, I think people forget when he first came how many ricks he dropped. You'll remember.
Yeah, but
he used to be a rick every bloody couple of weeks.
Yeah, but it's like I said, the players around him as well.
Look at Chow, he's done the same.
Well, that's exactly it. So, but I'm saying with Shaw, you because he's been here so long, you tend to look back with rose-tinted glasses. He wasn't always this brilliant defender everybody talks about. Yes, he's always had that great pass in him, and he's always had that great shot on him, but he's always had that little rick in defence as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I say...
Was in with a super chat, thank you, was it? I'll say this again, we need 4 or 5 top players and must make up any other positions with youth and loans. Get 4 or 5 top players, not 8 average players. And cut our losses on the misfits.
That's difficult, though, isn't it? To get 4 or 5 top players. We don't have Europe. We're not Man United.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we might not need 4 or 5 top.
Trafford when we did have the Champions.
The only way we'll need 4 or 5 top players is if we lose 2 or 3. And then if we lose 2 or 3, we will then have the money.
There's certain positions
we do need top players.
We need
players to replace who's in the team at the minute. This was your thing last season. We need bench players. We don't. We need bloody players who are better than what we've got in our first team. So we need good players to come in.
That's
and
fine.
Then your bench player, your good players, your players on the pitch become your bench players.
That's fine if you can afford them and pay their wages.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting
summer. If we go out and scout properly.
Well, everybody's out there scouting properly.
But by top players, depends what you mean by top players, really. If you're talking about going out and getting a proven top class player like another Tonali or something, that's a bit. I don't see that happening this window. I think we're talking about maybe going and getting someone who's a top talent, a fantastic, like the Ryan, who went to Bournemouth. Everyone knew he was a really talented player. If we're talking about top talents like that, we could maybe get 4 of them. I don't think we're going to get 4, absolute Mbermo type players.
Well, it looks very much as though
they've got to play in the team, though. That's the point. If we go out and get these players,
well, yeah, they have to be.
They've got to be given a chance.
I mean, I think I would push the boat up for James Trafford or somebody like that in goal, just to have somebody younger and better on the ball who's at least a number 1. We could say that's our number 1, rather than fumbling around with 2 average goalkeepers all the time.
If I may, I mean, for me, you talk about going and getting first team players. I don't think Newcastle will be spending anywhere near 200 million in the summer. And I think with this UEFA ruling, where obviously clubs in Europe can only spend 70%, I think that is where Newcastle have fallen. When you look at what their fine's going to be, yes, they reckon it's going to be somewhere in the region of 5 million, which is peanuts for our club. I understand that. But it sounds very much from what I'm reading between the lines that Newcastle are still going to be paying that 70% bracket of what we earn, rather than looking out of Europe the 85, because when you go back into Europe, if that's what they're trying to aim for, they're going to fall under the same constraints. So, Dex, I'm going to ask you this question.
70% of 400 million is 280 million.
Yeah, I'm just telling you what I've read. Newcastle won't be spending. Yeah, exactly. Newcastle won't be spending anywhere near £200 million. That's what I've read. Unless big players go. And again, you come back to where we were before. You're selling your bigger players for players that may not achieve what the club are asking for or what the club need. And that's what I said, is stability the way forward. I mean, let me throw this question towards you then, DX. Do you believe that the UEFA rules favour the established club, the elite clubs?
I think all the financial rules do really, don't they? Because you've got clubs like Liverpool and teams like that with such huge difference in their turnovers to ours and their profits and everything, that they can kind of go out and have these huge wage bills and stuff. We're kind of stumbling around that if we have to offer a new contract, let's say to Tonali or somebody or Bruno, and afford it unless we. That's where we're hamstrung as the transfer market is that we can't like with these out we couldn't offer anything like Liverpool going to offer. So straight away that's against us. So I think it definitely is a problem. Then it makes you question, is it better for us to be Conference League slash Europa to qualify? Because financially then we're gonna be, even more held back because of the 85% rather than the 70%. So I can see why some clubs probably see the Conference League and things of that nature as a bit of a distraction, a bit like I think you win like £1-2 million for winning it. So it's a bit it's sort of piddling amount really. But yeah, I think we're going to have to. This is the deal. But I do think the only way I agree with you that we might not spend 200 million, but I could see us selling 200 million pounds worth of players, and then
Yeah, potentially
150 million or something.
Villa 1-0 up, by the way, so 7th place is on.
You're not going to get away from that one, are you? I mean, listen.
Hang on. Can I just ask a quick point on this to the rest of the panel? And what's the point in we're spending anywhere near £200 million if this season we've spent 250 and for the last few games 215 million have just been sitting on the bench? So, you know what? What's the point in buying anybody if you're not going to pay them?
Yeah, let's hope they
Let's
can come
not.
good, and we can get that value from the bench.
Yeah. Well, I think
I certainly haven't given up on any of that.
I do think there's going to be a lot of conversations had between player and coach at the end of this season. And again, it'll depend on how much game time the likes of certain individuals will tomorrow have.
We've spent £700 million since this takeover. In the last game, when we needed a result and we needed something to happen, we went back to 3 players that were here 4.5 years ago when Eddie Howe took over.
23, and what happened?
We went back to that team. We went back to his tried and tested, and we had 200 odd million pounds worth of players on the bench. That he's bought in, that he's chose. There's something wrong there somewhere if you still choose it. If at this point in the project we're still playing Murphy, Willock, and J7, there's something going desperately wrong with this project.
Do you think he might be playing Osula to try and put him in the shop window as the most sellable asset of the 3 strikers? Because you can't
not from what I've read today. There's lots of teams that have come looking at Osula again.
Big clubs as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. And Newcastle have virtually said he's going nowhere, even though I think he's got 3 years left on his contract. So they are going to try and tie him down to another couple of years, I've heard. They're seeing big things in Osula at the moment. And like I say, I don't know whether, Osula is the way forward. And if it is, what a find. Because they've already said he will reach upwards of £40 million now for anybody wanting to buy him. So, these are the type of players that, other teams seem to get and sell them on for a massive profit and then reap rewards from that. Newcastle seem not to be able to achieve that just yet. So that was the question I was just going to ask Win. If you look at, we have got some room for manoeuvre. But the recruitment has to be sharp, mate. We cannot afford to go into the window again this summer and make big claims money-wise to players that just aren't going to hit the ground running.
Well, I agree. But you're absolutely right. The one thing we cannot do this summer is what happened in last summer. It was everything was disrupted from start to finish because of the rack. Simple as. Borky's shaking his head because he'll not have it. It's all Eddie's fault because he picked the players.
Well, no, you can't just blame one player leaving on the season that we're having this season. That's absolute crap. It's absolute rubbish. You know, if that's the case, then Eddie's the worst manager we've ever had because he's built that team fully around one player. And that's a disgrace. That's an absolute disgrace.
And yet you're saying build him around Voldemort.
No, I'm saying build the team so that it plays towards Voldemort's strengths.
Right, which is exactly what we did with Isaac.
But no, we built a team that could only play with Isaac. And Eddie Howe hasn't been able to get his mindset off the fact that he lost Isaac. You've just said that yourself.
He didn't. I absolutely, totally agree that we built Newcastle's attacking style around Isaac.
One
player. Voldemort comes nowhere near to filling Isaac's attributes in that respect. He's got a completely different skill set.
That's a hell of a steal. That's
He's got a completely different skill set that Isaac.
Yes, he has. That's fair enough.
I still don't think. Sorry, Tina, go on, mate, because you've been listening very patiently.
I was just going to say, like, I think when people blame Isaac's situation for what's happened this season, I think a lot of people don't really understand why. And I get that people hear it and they're saying, they think, oh yeah, it must be because he was a good player. Nothing at all to do with Alexander Isak as a player. The football team wasn't built around Alexander Isak, not by a long shot. He wasn't even the striker every single game, and we were still winning games that he wasn't playing. The Isak situation caused ripples in the team. So here are some of the things that it caused. One, we could put Alanga's poor performances this season down to the fact that he came here to join his bestie, and then his bestie went off in a huff because we weren't keeping promises to him, apparently. There was also a bunch of other players in the team who were affected on a mental/emotional level by the Isak saga. There was a lot of things that seemed to burst a lot of bubbles surrounding that. It also dragged on for the whole summer, and because of the back and forth where we were trying to reach some sort of agreement with them, we missed out on Hugo Ekitike, who I think is not only a better player than Alexander Isak, but I think would be perfect for Newcastle United. I think he would have been an absolute superstar for ourselves. So I kind of do think that the Isak saga is something that did affect us in a big way this season, but I don't think it has anything to do particularly with how Alexander Isak played for us last season.
You see, you know, I mean, like I say, I think Mitchell leaving when he did caused more of a problem for Newcastle than even Isak leaving. And I mean, like I say, you know, it was Piff that wanted to keep Isak, and they tried all sorts, but Isak was gone. You know, he wanted out. There was no way he was coming back. But I think the Mitchell saga was the biggest problem for Newcastle. Going when he did, putting his notice in, and then obviously training up nephew of Eddie Howe, I can't remember his name, Andy Howe, to do his role with a couple of months to go. I mean, it's criminal, you know. And that's what I said. There's been no stability across the club for the club to move forward, and there's been a number of issues. It's not just one player, it's not just one manager, it's not just one backroom staff. It's a multitude of events. You know, even listening to, you know, the CEO becoming ill can have a massive effect on your mentality going forward. Things like that, even the coach becoming ill can have a mentality shift going forward. So it has been a rough season across the board when it comes to Newcastle United. And that's where we need to try and stabilise and get it right from the summer.
Hang on.
Moving into it.
From this point you guys are making,
is it because he's not left? Was I saying rubbish? We will have 200 to 300 million to spend if necessary. And Ads K is straight in with Bokey. We need Jefferson back with you. Sense.
Talks are underway, mate. Talks are underway. In regards to this, you know, you've just all sat there and said, you know, it's down to this, it's down to that. What's been actual issue this season? Team selection, poor rotation, you know, no in-game management. Same things that were here when Isak was still here. What's changed? So, you know, yes, you can say that we've had a disruptive summer and we've had disruption in the squad. Which football club doesn't? Which business doesn't? But in regards to this...
What business... Hold on. You've just said... Let me just answer that. Tell me what business is sustainable without a CEO at the helm.
But that's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making.
You've just said that.
If you've got a well, you're laughing, Gary. If you've got a big business and it's successful, then if you haven't got a CEO, but we did have a CEO, he just wasn't very well, unfortunately. But if you haven't got a fully functioning CEO, you can still sort of take over. It's a bit like if you've got a manager at work, your team around you should still be able to take over without that manager being in place every day. If your manager has to be there every day, then there's a major problem. And that's the problem with us as well, is that Eddie seems to have to be there every day. But the point I was trying to make was, you're making these excuses. What have they had to do with the problems that we've had this season in regards to rotation, in regards to in-game management, in regards to team selection, and in regards to young players not being selected? So how's Isak leaving that everyone seems to want to blame on everything that's gone wrong this season? How have they affected those decisions by Eddie Howe?
Allow me
because
to
we can't
answer.
score goals, we can't finish our dinner, and that's been our problem the whole season.
But no,
Strikers haven't been up to it.
But how have they stopped Eddie Howe making those decisions? So how they stopped him changing the team, how they stopped him doing in-game management, how they stopped him giving youth a chance.
He's changed the team multiple times, but they still haven't been able to score goals.
If you believe that, go ahead.
Can I just point
Yeah,
something
I do.
out as well? At no point did I use what I just said as an excuse for the performances this season. I gave a balanced, understanding viewpoint of how that did affect the club as a whole. Performances this season still do come down to the players that we've had and the manager that we've had. There is no excuses being made there. So please, if you are going to reference anything that I say, please do not put words in my mouth, Mr. Bulkey.
I didn't mention you once. I said,
Okay,
I
just
said
you
how-
said
how-
you've
I mentioned you lot and
excuses.
I
thought you were referring to me. I do apologise.
how do you justify? So come on, then how do you justify the fact that in-game management, is that down to Isak not being here? Let's go through each point. Is in-game management down to the fact that we haven't got Isak anymore? Is that the problem?
No.
The in-game management.
Is the lack of use of youngster players down to we're not having Isak?
Not if they're not good enough.
No, it's just down to them not being good enough.
Is the use
Or not being coached properly.
Is the rotation of the squad down to we're not having Isak?
If
Very
you're playing, well, it's not. I'm not very quiet because you just keep coming up with the same name. Yeah, you've just come up with the same name, and it's got nothing to do. It's got nothing to do with all of the results, Balky. He's had some really bad results because he's tried to pick a team to go out and win in.
The excuse Isak was
from
the problem last transfer window. I'm giving you scenarios that have got nothing to do with Isak. And that's been the major problems this season. That has been where the issue has been, not because we sold Isak. It's been down to the fact of we're not being able to develop a team.
Great comment.
When you bring players,
if you
go
sell
on,
an engine out of a Formula One racing car and replace it with a road car engine.
Oh, that's another one.
Can I just point out that I
You're
did
in
actually
big bother
agree.
on the track, and that's exactly what's happened to us this season.
I think when you bring in players because you've been, not forced to, but you've got to replace players and they don't work. The pressure's on you massively because you've brought these players on. So what you try and do then is you're trying to literally put a square peg in a round hole, and it's just not working. And it doesn't matter what you try and do as a coach, it don't work. And there ain't a lot you can do about that apart from trying to squeeze a little bit more out of other players. And you look, and we talk about Isak, we talk about Voltemada. You look at our squad as a whole. When your midfielder is your top scorer this season, it ain't just Eddie Howe that's the problem. Because you ain't getting a tune out of a number of players on that field of 11, regardless of who you've put on there. And I think that, if you look at the bigger picture, and like I say, straight away, what I've just said there points the finger straight away at the coach. Because the coach is the only target you've got to name. And for me, that's fair enough. If the coach goes, he goes. Somebody else will walk in. And again, all he's got is the same players. And you've just got to make sure that whoever comes in can do the job. And that is all I'm saying. I don't mind whether Eddie Howe gets sacked tomorrow. I don't mind if Eddie Howe walks out the ground tomorrow with his boots underneath his arm and he walks. That's fine. I'm a Newcastle fan. All I try and do on this show is bring not an argument, but a discussion about what potentially could happen. All I hear from everybody else is same old, same old, same old. And no real validation behind it, apart from just pointing the finger and shouting a name out. That is so easy to do. So easy to do. Bring back some validation on some of the points that you bring out, and then great, we can have a good discussion about it. But, we're in April, but it's in May now, and we've been talking about the same problem since January. I just get a little bit...
Because the problems there have been the same since January, Gary.
But,
I understand your frustration. I completely get where you're coming from, because I feel exactly the same myself. We're coming at it from different angles.
Have I lost you guys? Because all of a sudden everything's frozen on my end.
I'll do my opinion. But in regards to it, the reason I'm frustrated is because nothing has changed since January. We're seeing this in December. We're seeing this in November. We're seeing this at the start of the season, and nothing has changed. And that's where my frustration comes at. And I'm not getting at you guys. I mean, Christina's got really valid points in regards to the fact that she loves the team no matter what. That's her stance, and that's how she lives around it. The ex.
Well, the only way I look at it,
Win will protect Eddie Howe till his dying day. But the problem with me is I'm the one that comes on here and actually says, these are the problems. This is what's going on. And yes, I'm repeating myself. But the reason I'm repeating myself is because we've got the same bloody problems every week.
But there's nothing we can do
with the team.
Yeah, that's what I said. But there's nothing we can do. All I want to do is read out the news, what's in the future, and then talk about what's coming. I don't want to keep going back over the stuff that we've been talking about.
What was a couple of super chats here from was, please, guys, forget what's happened. We all know what's happened.
Exactly.
And
we all
saying,
know.
Seriously, please look forward. It's boring looking back.
But to look forward, you have to. To be fair, you guys, Wayne especially, in regards to this, has looked back to the last seasons in regards to backing up Eddie Howe and using that as the excuse. So as soon as that becomes, the issue, as soon as that becomes an issue this season, because you look back on this season and it's been a disaster, it's, don't look back, look forward. Whereas you have spent the whole season looking backwards, going, he got with UEFA Champions League twice, he got with the Cup. Yeah, great, he did. So, but you've got to take it both ways.
But the difference is, I can look back on the season and say, yes, it's been a disaster, but I can look at the reasons that it's happened, and it's not all just down to one person. That's the point.
But you mentioned Isak as being the major issue. You've used Isak as the whole problem this season throughout, and now you're saying there's no... So what is this season's issues down to? Who's it down to mainly?
Well, it's down to going into the transfer window without a CEO, without a DOF. It's down to PIF insisting that we weren't going to let Isak go, which completely knackered the transfer window. Meant we didn't get any of our original targets. We're going for second and third choices all the way down the line. Those choices have not been a success. No good pretending otherwise at the minute, for a variety of reasons. Whistler's injury, Walter Mortar getting used to the Prem, and the Prem getting used to him and sussing him out. Ramsey getting injured, doing quite well since he's come back. We'll see what that. Alanga just not finding his form at all, which could well be have something to do with what Tina said early on. He came here thinking he was going to be playing with Isak, and that turned out not to be the case. We had a completely disrupted pre-season, which Eddie loves, for to get all these players on board and on all singing from the same hymn sheet. And we've had Champions League football on top of everything else, which hasn't helped stuff.
What's the one thing you never mentioned once their win has been the problem?
Eddie Howe's part of the problem, absolutely.
You did not mention that once, so
he's part of the
problem. You talk about this, but that's the reason why I have to bring it up, is because you will not mention Eddie Howe being a major, the biggest part of the problem.
How many times have I complained about Eddie Howe's
but you
team
just
selection, in-game management, substitution,
a list of issues for this season and never mentioned Eddie Howe once?
Gentlemen, can I just stop you? I don't spend 3 hours preparing for this show to talk about bloody Eddie Howe. And if you want to talk about Eddie Howe, then please carry on and host the show, because this is going to be my last night of doing the hosting, because I am sick to death. Everybody obviously agrees with you, Boki, so I'll tell you what, go and speak to everybody, bring a panel of Eddie Howe out people and talk about it, because after tonight I am done. That is it. So this is it. No, listen. No. Listen, I am sick. Listen, I have spent 3 hours. No, I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying I am sick to death of talking about Eddie Howe at every show. And that's what I said. It always comes down to Eddie Howe. I have got another 3, 4 or 5 points to get over, and it's gone 9 o'clock. And we've not even talked about Nottingham Forest yet, who we've got coming up. And that's what I'm saying. We've just spent another 25 minutes talking about Eddie Howe that we've been talking about all bloody season. And I do not want to talk about Eddie Howe. He is the problem. We cannot sack him. What do you want us to do about it? Right, so there you go. I am finished after tonight. You've heard it not live. I'll do the presser, I'll do the live comms, but I'm not hosting another show. So there you go. Let's get on to the next one. James Trafford, talk about hitting the pass mark. Third summer, Newcastle linked. Agreed twice before. Man City may demand £40 million. Is Trafford worth the wait? That's what I wanted to ask you guys. There is a number of players out there that seem to be, for me, as good as, potentially cheaper. I know you've got a massive fondness for this lad, DX.
I really like him. Yeah. He's every time Man City, apart from the second game or whatever it was, he's looked fantastic to me. Every time I've watched him, anyway, probably about 8 times in the Cups, he looks class, 2-footed, good shot stopper. I like him. Young, 23-year-old. Got something.
Listen, when you look at everything that comes about this kid, like you said, he's 2-footed. I don't think he's the world shot stopper, best shot stopper, but I think he commands his box well. I just think is 40 million worth the wait. Because that's what Man City are apparently asking for.
That's what I was about to ask you. Have we seen any indication yet of how much they're wanting for him?
40 million is what they're... I mean, listen, I'm sure there'll be negotiations. I'm sure there could be add-ons, performance-related add-ons and things like that.
Is that the going rate, kind of, for a decent goalkeeper? I mean, I know Ramsdale would only be 16 million, but then you're getting 5 years older. He's not, I don't think, as good a goalkeeper, so... 40 million is probably a little bit steep, to be honest. 35, I would think, would be okay. I don't know why that 5 million is just a mental thing. It just seems a lot lower. I don't know why.
I mean, if you look at the modern football guys, do you think this type of keeper, a lot of teams now play out from the back and they want to build and progress the ball up the field as quick as possible, rather than just taking that 50-50 punts, ball through the middle, in the air, contested between both parties, and then it's a gamble who it comes out with. I mean, now I know Wynne doesn't like the pet football, if you like, but it seems very much to me as though Eddie Howe wants to move that way. He wants to be confident that he's got it, and I think that was the reasons why he went for Ramsdale. Even though I don't think Ramsdale, obviously, as we've seen, has been all that. I mean, he controls very well, but I just think he just loses something when it comes to that shot stopping, that aerial command.
He seems.
The only thing I like about Ramsdale is that the players are not pooping their pants when they have to pass back to him, so it gives the back four a bit of confidence as well as.
Would you? I mean, I've just read literally as we started the show, it looks like Leeds could be very interested in Nick Pope over the summer. 34-year-old triggered a 1-year option in his contract at St James's Park earlier this season to remain at the club until next summer, and it looks like Leeds are very interested. Obviously, he'll go on a free if that's the case. Is he worth another season as a number 2, do you think, Trafford?
Pope.
Ramsdale, you mean?
Pope, sorry.
Pope.
No, Pope, not Ramsdale. Ramsdale will go back on his loan one.
If we could get 10 million or something, I'd probably take that now. Because I think if you wait another year, is he out of contract in a year? I think he might be. But anyway, he'll be 35. I think it'd be hard to get more than a few mil. I think this is the last chance to get some reasonable money.
No money. Ian Fleming's agreeing with you, Gary. Totally agree. Well said.
Listen,
About that.
it's done. Like I said, I want to move on. I've got loads to get through, and like I say, I'll just get to that point. Gordon exit. Now, again, you talk about Craig Hope has come out with a confidential tonight, and obviously everybody's talking about the monies that are still going to be owed to Everton, as if it's a new thing. Like I say, we knew about that. Maybe we should do a confidential and get you guys to pay for that. Newcastle wants 75 million. Bayern apparently are reluctant to go anywhere near or go above 60 million. What's your
euros.
thoughts on this then?
Isn't it 60 million euros?
60 million, that's what I said, anywhere near 60, because like I say, it's 60 million euros, which work out about 55 million or something stupid, isn't it?
A Langer price, yeah, I think that's a bit mad.
Yeah.
I think that just if they want them, and that's another question. I can't understand why they would with Diaz, but no, anyway, that's just a marketing play, for want of a better expression, strategic buying statement.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll give you 50. I'll offer you 10. Well, 40, 30.
I think the only real benefit that comes out of this, though, when you think about it, is the fact that you've got lots of teams are now coming in for or reported. I mean, Barcelona have walked away because they don't think they can afford him anyway, so Barca are out of it. But there is still another couple of teams. Liverpool have come in, and I've read I read yesterday, and I wanted to bring it on tonight's show because I had so much in yesterday's show. Malik Chow now is under the radar of Liverpool. Danny Murphy has literally got in touch, by the sounds of it, with a lot of the Liverpool scouts and said, raid Newcastle, because there is talent across Newcastle that will help Liverpool reach the title again. What is your thoughts on that?
Well, it sounds like we're trying to sell every player under the age of 26. I thought it was supposed to be the other way around. We're going to sign all the players under 26. We're going to keep all the 30, 33, 34-year-olds and dump
Keep
all
Shane Byrne and sell Chow.
It's all. I mean, I don't think Liverpool would go for Chow. I think he's not quite there at the moment. But I don't know what's the Danny. I mean, why's Danny Murphy got to do with it? Like, in terms of why is he spouting out now? Is he just getting?
Well, he's just a Liverpool pundit, isn't he?
Yeah, I hopefully he doesn't have any sway. I mean, unless they offer 70 million for Chow, then yeah, let's do it.
Well, like I said, I mean, Liverpool. I don't think they'll come in with massive offers this season. I mean, but they do need a turn up. Like I said, we know now that there's potential of Tottenham Hotspur, believe it or not, coming in for Tino Livramento. I've read today. This is on one of the Spurs casts. They're looking now. If they stay in the Premier League, they're looking to rebuild. Tino apparently wants to live in London. Is another one that's going around, and that's why his Arsenal link is the big one that he wants. He wants the Arsenal move. He's really interested in the London atmosphere and surroundings. So Tottenham now seem to have hit that line and said, well, if you want to come into London...
Archie will do.
But I was going to say, I mean, what type of price would you expect for Tino now, though? Injury prone.
Well, that's the thing,
50 million, maybe.
You reckon 50 million?
You know what worries me, though, Gary, is if this does go on, you're selling all the crown jewels of the team, really.
That is it.
Yeah, and then it's hard to rebuild the squad if you've got Murphy, Alanga, and players. If they don't step up and find a better level, I mean, Murphy's not going to at this point in his career. But these are not. It's going to be a very average squad if you take out 4 or 5 of the best players. It's even if Bruno hangs around, it's going to be. I would worry for us next season if we're selling too many of the better players from the squad. Can't we just get rid of a few of the the backup guys and get 1 or 2 of the top names? But yeah, I hope it's not a mass fire sale of all the all the better players, because then we could be in big trouble, I think.
Well, that's the other big question. How many better players do we really have?
Well, tonight,
I've always said 6 at the most.
Well, I mean, here's another one that I've read today. Tonali's finally agreed a fine of somewhere in the region of €75,000 rather than a jail term regarding his betting scenarios. So that's all behind him now. Then he's going to concentrate.
I'll give you 7-1 on that one being a lie.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is what I'm saying. You read so much crap. If I'm honest with you, you can't find the truth from the lies these days. They just spread so much gossip. It's unreal. Some European targets that have been discussed, though. Antonio Nusa, his explosive, huge upside, and product improvement, absolutely there. And again, versatile player who can. I say he will cost you something, but you will get a lot back for him. Matthias Fernandez Pardo is another one. Very versatile, taller profile, similar transition qualities to Anthony Gordon. I think he's 6'2", but again, he's very dynamic, really runs at the defensive line. Bazumana Toure is another one. Raw but exciting. He's a Bundesliga breakout. That's what they've said today. I mean, like I said, Newcastle shifting away from this Premier League proven to that young European development profiles. So if you like, guys, I mean, when we look at this, we've mentioned before, it seems very much like we've gone towards that Brighton model. Does this worry fans that want to watch? You mentioned exciting football back in 22-23 win. Would this hamper Newcastle going forward then, looking for the younger profile rather than the Premier proven?
Well, how young is young? That's the thing.
Well, these are all 22 to 24.
Well, so we're looking at the same age that Bruno was when he came, and Botman was when he came.
A lot of the ones that seem to be out there now in the limelight are from the age of 20 to 24. Seem to be that age group, that peak age group that everybody wants to.
Yeah, well, it's a gamble. Simple as that. If you're picking someone who's, let's say, 20, how many league games have they got under their belt? What's their body of work? What's their CV, if you like?
Listen. We all know
equip them for Premier League football.
How many players have we seen coming into the Premier League that haven't really made it? The Premier League is a different animal to European competition, isn't it? So.
I wouldn't mention his name again, but what's the chances of players of that age getting picked for this team if he's still got his older players there? So and I get where you came from, Gary, and please don't leave the show because of one bloody stupid little argument about Eddie Howe. You're a great bloke. You will know you put the effort in and you do a great time. But in regards to that,
crack on.
You've got to say, would they be given a chance?
Yes.
Well, that's what I said. Things have to change. Yeah, that's what I said. Things have to change. And that's what I said. This is where I think Ross Wilson will show his weight in gold. If he's that type of scout, that type of DOF where he'll probably sit down with Eddie Howe and discuss it. But I think there's probably got to be more demands from the director of football and say, this is the money that we can afford. This is the player that fits what you're asking for regarding the footballer. The name that you want, which is Premier proven, we can't afford. And I think that has got to be a discussion that goes across a table. Is that something that you agree with, boys, or is it something that,
Do you think with Wilson, if he has a good transfer window this season, who will people come on this channel and say had the best window ever? If Wilson does most of the transfers, will Eddie still get the credit for it?
Listen,
that's a big question. But no, but I don't want to go back to that. But what I'm saying is, Wilson has to have a good window, basically. He has to come in and have a great window.
Personally, I'm worried. Have you seen his new appointment today?
Yeah,
from Rangers.
From Rangers. He's got 2 from Forest and 1 from Rangers.
Yeah, it's like all mates in a circle, isn't it? But I mean, what's the difference with Eddie Howe, though? He brings the people that he trusts to do a job for him. And that's what I said. At the end of the day, if it works, then great. I wasn't going to say, this is a problem. My problem for him is the fact that, you can look at Nottingham Forest, and he has brought in some good players in Nottingham Forest, but he doesn't seem to, like at that level. Like I say, I'm going to say Nottingham Forest. They brought a lot of players in all at once, and it's up to the coaches then to go out and try and knit this team together. Some have failed, some have done very well. And like I say, we're going to go on to Forest in a second. But again, he has thrown a lot of bodies forward. Doesn't mean that he's a good DOF by establishing what they've got now. There's been a lot of mistakes come his way. You've only got to look at his past history. Apparently, Valverde. Have you guys been catching up on what's happening down at Real Madrid?
Not really.
No.
Oh, okay. There's been a couple of scraps that has happened. Valverde suffered a traumatic brain injury and will miss El Clasico. The test carried out today on our player Fede Valverde by the Real Madrid Medical Services. He has been diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury. Valverde is at home in good condition. There was a bit of a scrap in the dressing room, apparently, and apparently one of the other players had a go at one of the medical officers, slapped him across the face twice on the training field. Real Madrid, mate, you think Newcastle have got problems. I wouldn't want to be a manager or a coach at Real Madrid at the minute. Yes. There are far too many bigger players to work off. Going on from that, again, quickly, I've just looked at the time. Darwin Nunez, guys, potential free agent at the end of this year. Obviously, it's a failed Saudi stint. Newcastle was linked with him very briefly last year. He comes as a free transfer, but obviously he got 400,000 a week, so it would have to be a massive wage hit. Would you take him if there is, issues with players not wanting to be at the club?
I would on a free, because I think you could offer him a £15 million signing on fee, that could effectively, you could say 50 million transfer fee. They just treat it like that, or 20 million even. And then just say, we'll give you 150 grand a week or 120. I think it's worth a punt. He's a terrible finisher, isn't he? Well, apart from St James's Park.
Well,
I'm going to say.
It reminds me of Andy Cole.
Do you think?
He misses loads, but by God,
yeah,
he gets
Andy Cole
loads.
wasn't a great finisher, that's true, but he did score some great goals. But
But the thing was, he was always in position to miss, never afraid to miss, as Malcolm McDonald famously said.
I think he's only 26, isn't he, Nunez?
So he is, yeah.
I think we've got to do things like that now. We can't muck about paying huge fees for players all the time. There's got to be some clever little signings.
I mean, that would float my boat, certainly.
Well, Darwin Nunez to me is like the football equivalent of buying a Ferrari with no brakes, if I'm honest with you. Entertaining, but eventually you'll end up in a hedge. We've got one chaos player.
But it's fun on the way, Gary.
Well, that's what I said. If you want to go up the beehive with a car with no brakes, then good luck to you. I mean, we've got one chaotic player up front, right? It's entertaining. Do we need two?
He's a bit more technical, isn't he, Nunez, than Osula? Osula's a bit more unpredictable and random. I don't know. Maybe they're thinking. Well, if they're thinking this, they might not even want Nunez, but their thinking could be that, we could get 35, 40 million for Osula. Someone will probably pay that. And then we get Nunez in on a free and we give him a big signing on fee, 15 million or something. And then we've suddenly made a big chunk of money and brought in another striker, a different type of striker, or someone that's got some parallels with Osula. And then we've got a bit more to play with in the transfer market. That could be a way of looking at it. It's sad that we have to look at things like that now. We have to be so business-minded all the time, but it's kind of the way it is, really.
The three strikers, Osula would be the one I would look least at selling.
Me too, but I just think
I think he's a better striker out of the three of them. That's the
absolutely.
If we sell him for 30 million, we're probably underselling him, to be honest. If we only get 30 million pounds for that lad.
30, no.
No, well, they said they want upwards of 40. Now, if somebody come in for him now, they'd want upwards of 40 million pounds for him, because they know what what his potential is, if you like. I mean, I still, 3 goals in 4 games. Yeah, you can say well done. You know what I mean? But he's got to continue it, hasn't he? He's got to be a persistent nuisance. I don't want him to go back to what we saw before, where he's that yo-yo striker. He's got to run the line like he did with Willock alongside him. And again, we talk about teams that make adaptations. I think with this lad, Nunez, I think he'll be the Voltamada. I think there'll be other strikers that'll be in front of him, but they'll have this lad on the back burner because if he is willing to take a wage cut, he does know what the Premier League's all about, even though he wasn't that successful in the Premier League. But he certainly would give you that little bit of ammo that you would have in the background. I don't think he's brilliant. He's the best tactical player, if you like, but he's got that power. He's got that ability to work off the shoulder, and I think that is something that Newcastle, without Osula, have missed. Obviously, Wissa does it well, but I mean, in front of goal, he looks well void of any confidence. Since he's come back, he's got himself into some great positions, but he's just unable to hit the target. And you've got to make the keeper work from those positions that he gets himself into. Is Nunez another Wissa? That is the worry for me.
Just out of interest.
Anyway, let's.
But without
Villa have got a penalty to go 2-1, 2-0.
He needs a little bit of time on the pitch, though, doesn't he? He needs time on the pitch to get those chances.
Well, I do think Osula will be the one. I wouldn't want to sell him, but he's the only one you can make a profit on right now, isn't he? So that's probably the thinking. If they did.
I mean, I said, back in summer, wasn't it, that when Frankfurt were in for him for 30 million, I said, get
well, at the time that seemed like a huge,
and that would have been a big mistake looking on these.
But when you look back at transfer windows, me and you agreed on some things. Well, Osula 100% was said sell on. DLC down at Leeds was said no chance do you sign him. It just proves that fans sometimes how wrong you can be as well. Yep. Would we have been better off signing him than either of the two we got? Definitely did. When you look back on it now, that's the big problem. And football's all about
hindsight. Wonderful thing.
100%.
I mean, if we all had it,
2020 pineapple, a lot better.
I think if we all had this 2020 hindsight, we'd be fantastic, wouldn't we? We'd be all in the bookies every week, getting the source. I mean, it is interesting. Like I say, I've realised we've got 8 minutes to go, so we will. Bayern Munich have opened talks with Anthony Gordon over a potential summer move. This is breaking on Sky Sports News now. Newcastle are in talks with Bayern Munich now regarding the summer transfer. So there you go. Thanks, Connor, for throwing that one at me. It's like I say, it's all over Sky Sports. If anybody wants to have that and have a look, go and have a look on there.
I think we might have had a start
I'm just going to sling them up before we go. Was I saying no wrong with spending time in a hedge? Yeah, man. And Prozac is back again.
Well done, mate.
Another gifted
Thank you, mate.
Membership. Thank you, Bunny lad.
Indeed. Really interesting. We're going to go quickly on, and I say I've got a few minutes left, so we'll try and squeeze a little bit from Nottingham Forest. Under Vitor Pereira, I mean, like I say, they have become Champions League playing style at the minute. I mean, I'm watching them tonight. They look far from it, if I'm honest with you, at Villa Park. But again, if you look at what they're trying to do, flying, organised, high confidence, very strong at home. Newcastle concerns, if you like, away form, confidence, potential exits affecting mentality. Again, are we seeing these players benching now because of what's going on behind the scenes? Anthony Gordon not available because, again, there was conversations with Barcelona the weekend. Was it something that was agreed that he had nothing to do with that game regarding injuries, financials, things like that? You don't know what goes on behind the scenes. I was very surprised for him to be omitted completely from that squad. So tactical breakdown, Forest are very vertical, very compact, aggressive in transition. Newcastle, very vulnerable between lines. And like I say, confidence is fragile. If you look at across the board now, it seems, I think every time they've played, especially over the last 7 times these two have met, it's been both teams score goals. So this one, to me, I think it's going to be a 1-1 or a 2-2. I think it's going to be one of those basketball types of matches. again, you look at where these guys are and where they've come from. They seem to sit. They've made one adjustment. It's a similar type of system to what Newcastle did against Brighton the weekend. I'm just going to throw this on. Hudson-Odoi became unavailable, became injured. So they had to make a change. And what they did quite cleverly, I'm going to put this on them. It's going to be a little bit small for you guys, and I apologise because I don't spend money on the other graphics that I used to have. Things are just too tight these days. I'm going to move this out of there. Maybe this is going to be better for you, though. Oh, no, it's not. It's getting smaller. It's disappearing into the lost. Oh my God, where are you going? Where? Oh,
Turn
okay,
your
I'll
wheel the
reset.
other way.
I've tried. I am. It's gone completely. Right. I'm going to lose that because this is crap. Reset. Come on, do something. Okay.
Like our season.
What?
Gone.
Yeah. Okay. I won't bother with that one then because that is useless. There you go. That's what you get for free. Absolutely useless. But literally, what he did, Hudson-Odoi got injured and became unavailable. And what he's done very cleverly, he has put Gibbs White across on the left-hand side. He's become 4-4-1-1, 4-4-2, if you like, with Jesus and Wood up top. And what you get then is literally coming from left to centre, playing in that hole. Is Gibbs White that literally causes havoc. And then what you've got, the young lad at the back, which is again another one of DX's stalwarts. You like him, don't you, mate? Their young left back. What's his name?
Well, the Forest one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Can you remember?
No, I don't think he was one of mine.
Nico
Yeah,
Williams.
you've Williams. Yeah, I was going to say, Nick, is it?
Nico Williams.
You mentioned him. Yeah, Nico Williams. You mentioned.
He wasn't my top, but yeah, maybe he was someone else.
Oh, right.
Can I
Apologies.
just quickly ask DX, who's the picture behind you? I think I went out with that once.
It's a very dodgy Keegan.
Okay.
I wouldn't have
very
that
dodgy.
cartoonist do me.
Guys are a little bit off on there.
Yeah, so they utilise him running down the line. And like I say, the overloads on that left-hand side, it becomes 3-2-5 in transition. So, again, it's something that Newcastle have to be very wary of. And again, I enjoyed watching some difference at Newcastle, playing, again, a team very similar to Nottingham Forest. Less possession, but more critical in front of goal. And I think that's what Newcastle were against Brighton. And if you look over the tenure of Pereira at Nottingham Forest, he's happy not to have the ball. But when he gets the ball, they utilise it. They utilise it very well at this present moment in time, where previously he's had 50% plus of the ball, but his finishing in front of goal has been very shoddy. So, again, he's brought a bit of stability into the side. He's brought a little bit of creativity in front of the side. And again, a team, very much like we saw against Newcastle and Brighton, just give the ball up and just keep your shape and then literally go from there. The boys are jumping in the background to say good evening to the lads on the late show.
Can I just quickly say, Tina, I hope your computer gets sorted. She's had technical issues, and that's why she's had to leave the night. So she should be back next week. And
there you go.
So will Gary.
Yeah, well, you'll see me tomorrow. You'll see me tomorrow on the presser. Me and Balky are doing the presser in the morning. And obviously you'll see me on Sunday. How are you, Tim? How are you? Ian, you good?
Oh,
can you hear me?
Mark,
good.
Mark calling Orson. Come in, Orson.
Right. Sorry about that.
Bear with us, lads. I've
That's
got no
all right.
sound. If you can hold the fort for just a minute, Gary, we're going to go out and come back in, okay? Because I haven't got a clue.
Yeah.
What this is. 2 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. You can't get good YTS these days, lads. That's all I'm going to say. And for those of you that are not old enough, it was £25 a week. That's if you were lucky. I mean, it is a crazy one at the minute. Ian, what's your prediction for this weekend, mate? Are you expecting a dinger of a match or not really that bothered?
A donger.
Well, we've got a great recent record at Nottingham Forest, haven't we? And
We have.
we have just won our first game in living memory, it seems. So, and also Forest are getting turned over by Villa. They get knocked out in the semi-final.
Yeah.
Are they going to be down? They're going to be knackered. I think we'll win.
But do we want them to go
Good.
to extra time? If
That's
it's
more in
2-1,
hope than expectation.
if it's 2-1,
Yeah, I'd love them to go.
Is that extra time still?
Yeah, it is. It's an extra 30 minutes, so that'll be great if they can
That'd be
score. Yeah, that will be them on their knees come the 40th minute, hopefully. What was your score, Win, of the weekend? I haven't seen your prediction yet, mate.
No, I haven't got it in yet.
Ah, sneaky.
I'm waiting for the team, but I'm kind of expecting same again. Bill Shankly don't change a winning team, and if we play the same again, despite my reservations on Saturday, I think we'll beat them. We'll have 11 players who will give a toss.
That'll be interesting. Balky, what's your prediction, mate?
I predict that we'll win handsomely. I haven't put my prediction in yet, but I think if Forest go out to the European competition tonight, I think we'll beat Everton 4-1. I think this could be our biggest away win of the season.
Really?
And our biggest win of the season.
You're
Wow,
also positive
that's-
in predictions.
Yeah, until the end of it. After the 90 minutes, it's like, look at that, whatever, what's there? What's yours, DX?
I'm struggling with this one actually. I think if they go to extra time today, I think they might be so drained, whether they win or lose. If they win on penalties, I might feel great. I don't know. I'm going to say 1-0 to Forest just because I've got a funny feeling about it. It's going to be an ugly game, and maybe Wood might score or something. I hope not.
Yeah. I think it's going to be very cagey, I must admit. And like I say, it depends on what happens tonight. They could literally be so deflated. If they lose tonight, mentally, I think that's going to affect them massively.
They lose on penalties.
A loss tonight, because like obviously they're 2-1 down in aggregate now, and they've got 23 minutes to hold on. I think it could be a Newcastle win, but I've had a draw in my head virtually all night, so I think it could be. I think it could be a Newcastle win, as daft as it looks, because like I say, I think they will struggle mentally to come back from tonight. So it'll be interesting to see then how good this Pereira is, because he looked. He looked okay at Wolves. It's just they just couldn't get a song out of the players that he'd got there, And if you look at Forest, Forest have had 4 managers this season, and every one has struggled, and yet he seems to have gone on board there, made a couple of adjustments, and they are literally 6th in the table when it comes to performances. And I think they are most goals scored over the last 6 games. So, like I say, he certainly got them flying. Ian Fleming, 2-1 Forest, he reckons. It'll be interesting. Tim,
the worry
can you hear me?
The worry is, for me...
I can. There you go. You're on it.
There we go.
You're in dreamland. Right then, gentlemen, I'll see you tomorrow morning about 9:15. Me and Balky will be doing the presser, and then we'll go from there. Ian's let me down, bless him. Got other plans. You're a better looking bird, apparently. Anyway, mate, I'll see you on the next one.
I'll see you guys later.
Cheers, mate.
See you tomorrow morning, mate.
Take care, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Ciao for now, boys.
Yep, welcome to the late night show, and as Gary Busey says in Predator 2, this is history.
Set up for maximum confrontation and super opinionated debate. Set up for maximum confrontation and super opinionated debates. The NUFC Late Night Show with Chris the American Man, Derek the Mighty Wind, and the rest of the panel, Monday through Thursday from 9:30 p.m. UK and UFC Talk Radio, the voice of the Toon Army.
There you go, voice of the Toon Army. You're right, lads. How are you doing? Some technical issues there, but yeah, these things happen. But yeah, all sorted now. Yeah, how you doing? Win?
Well, I'm doing all good, and we finally found out that Prozaic's gifted membership, thank you, Prozaic, again, went to Milan Pavlovic, 88.73. So,
come on, Cheers.
Enjoy your
He'll be
membership.
joining next year. He'll be joining next year when he turns 18 from the Serbian third division. Probably to be playing in the under 18 side. He'll get a cruciate ligament injury. We'll send him out on loan somewhere in Bosnia, and we'll never hear of him again.
Whoa, I heard he's going to get a
Well,
part-time
yeah, and it's a
job in
shame. There's millions going to get snapped up, and his career's going to be over, and he's going to get a bad injury, all because
I
he's
heard
got
he
a
was going to
gifted
get a
membership.
part-time
Never
job in
mind
your
the
shop on a Saturday afternoon so you could go to the match.
There's not enough room. There's not enough room for two people in my shop. Honestly, it's
No,
full
you'll
of
be at the
shit.
match.
You'll be at the
Will
match.
you though? You were debating the Brighton game, Ian. You were wavering with that
Pardon?
one, weren't you? You went
I
in
was
the end.
debating whether to go or not. I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did. I really enjoyed that game. I know it wasn't, like I said last night, we didn't score highly on technical merit or artistic impressions, but I did enjoy the game. I liked the
Me
goals.
too.
And I loved watching Osula. It's exciting.
He is definitely. You know, I want to talk
It's
about Osula.
big change.
Yeah. I mean, so what we want to talk about tonight is the article by Craig Hope, trusted Hopey at the back post, and he has came up with a few exclusives today, and one of them is Osula, and what he talks about in his latest article is that Newcastle now are looking to keep William Osula for next season, despite there being a lot of interest from others. And we know the interest was there at the start of the season. Frankfurt, I think it was, wasn't it? And Aston Villa.
Yep.
So I think with his form now, there's going to be those clubs plus more interested. And Craig Hope, he mentions Crystal Palace and he mentions Everton. So there is a decision to make as to what we do. And one of the sources at Newcastle have said that in terms of what to do with Osula, if they sold him, the quote from the source is that we'd be looking to replace Will Osula with Will Osula. So that's the conundrum that they have because, they'll be looking for a similar type profile of player if they sell Osula. So they are looking to keep him, it seems. My question with Osula is, well, first of all, would you keep him? Because obviously, bear in mind, we've got Wissa there as well. I know you were saying earlier in the show, what you would do with both of those. And I think you said, Borky, as well about, keep all of them. So I'll come back to you on that as well. But my question is, would you keep Osula? And if you would, how would you play him? Would he be first choice, second choice? And also, what formation would you have in mind? I know it's likely to be 4-3-3, but if it was you, what plan would you have for Osula with those two things, formation and first choice, second choice? Ian, I'll come to you first.
If it's 4-3-3, I really want to see Osula start on the right wing because that means Murphy can't get picked. But also, I think most of his exciting stuff comes down the right, doesn't it? That wonderful goal against Man U, almost a repetition against Brighton. It's exciting going down the right wing. He's big, he's fast, he can cut inside, he's strong. I mean, that's what I want to see, marauding down the right-hand side, not Murphy knocking the ball back to Trippier or Miley. But what I prefer to see is us to do a 4-2-3-1 formation and keep him at number 9 and have Voltemada playing at the number 10 with him. So let's push that forward. That might end up being 4-2-2-2 if you want. But I think as a 10 just behind Osula running left or right, Voltemada could do some damage with him.
As first choice number 9 or second choice?
If I've got Voltemada on the team to play at number 10 as one of what effectively would be 2 forwards, I would have Osula alongside him before Wissa every day.
So would you sign a new striker in the summer with a view to playing in the first team ahead of Voltemada, or would you just keep Osula in there with the faith that he would come good?
I think he's a confidence player, and I think that would give him the confidence to go on. I mean, his development over this year, I'm fed up with hearing how raw he is, and he still is. He's not raw. He's bloody chaotic. He's mental, which is fabulous because the defenses have no idea how to treat him. So I would start him. I don't know if we do need another striker. I like the look of Sean Neve. And if we can't get rid of Wissa, we've got 4 there. So no, don't buy a striker. Just
Interesting.
play them in a formation which allows them to perform to their
Thrive.
best. I think we've got a fantastic striker in Voltemada,
Mm.
but we just haven't played him where he can show that.
Mm.
He's improvised and looked good sometimes when he's playing as an Isaac type centre forward, but that's not him, is it? We need his creativity, picking the pass to play
What?
people in, whether
Yeah.
that's Osula through the middle or bringing whoever's on the right or the left in. I think it'd be exciting to watch.
Mm. No, it's an interesting
More
point.
exciting
And
than
go on.
more exciting than what we've watched this year is all I was going to say.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think with the point of spreading the cost of this summer, that's an interesting point because obviously we have to buy a lot of players, spend a lot of money. So you're kind of veering towards potentially not even signing a striker, and that would allow you to concentrate on other areas and spread the money across that way. I would just say as well, with Osula, if you play with a 2, with Voltemada in the number 10, that would even allow him to drift across to the right. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't have to necessarily start in a 4-3-3. If you got the 2, it gives license then, I think. And we're seeing that against Brighton. It was basically a 2 with Willock, and Osula did pop up on the right because he doesn't have to worry about vacating the central area because he knows Willock in that instance will be taking that up. So I think that's the good thing about that formation.
3-0 Villa as well. Just 3-0 Villa.
Is it? Is that
Yeah.
on the night, or what's the aggregate score?
Again.
No, that's the score at the minute in the actual game.
Okay.
I think with
3-1 on
Osula,
aggregate.
All right. Oh yeah.
I think with Osula, what you do is you take that number 9 off Wissa's back and you put it on Osula's back. And next season you say to him, "You're my first choice striker. We're going to play 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1 if you like, but an old style 4-4-2 with a striker slightly back off him. You put Voltemada or just running off him, and you set them 2 up for this season to be your strike force. You know, that magical strike force that can go forward and do things. You know, imagine them 2 up front. Imagine the little flicks. Osula, he's not orthodox, so if he gets a little flick through off Voltemada, he's probably going to pick up on it. You know, he's probably going to be the one player that you think, yeah, you 2 could work together. So for me, make Osula your number 9, make Voltemada your number 10, and get them training all summer together, and they're the 2 that start next season.
Yeah. Go on, Win.
Was us
If you can get-
in
if
with
you
a
can
super
get
chat
so
there.
I was
I've
gonna
been
say
watching
that-
Neve and Son Su and they're doing well.
Yeah, 100%.
Good.
Yeah.
Cheers, was
when I mentioned Neve, because somebody pulled me up on it that Neve wasn't ready yet. I know he's not, but it doesn't stop him from being a second change for the last 10 or 15 minutes in the games where we're already 2 or 3 up. Blood the lad.
Those games.
So that when he's done, well, I'm assuming we're going to get back to that. We used to do that a lot, didn't we? But you know, he could have played 10 hours of Premier League football by the end of next season. He does his Miley transformation into the Incredible Hulk in the gym when he turns 21, and he's ready then, isn't he? He's ready, and he's not scared of stepping out because he's already played 10 or 15 cameos. I like the look of him. I do. I've watched a few of these highlights from the under-21s, and he's a clever player. He is really improvises as well as being a sniffer Clark. I don't know if he's too old for everybody, bar Mighty Win. But as being a fox in the box, he's actually improvises and scores some really good goals.
But look what we're doing the second half of this show. We bring the youngsters on to sort of show how to do it, don't we?
That's very kind of you, Bork. That's very kind. Yeah, not entirely accurate, but I'll keep it at that.
I'll take that. Yeah.
Peter, what do you think?
It is a funny one with Osula. If you go back to the start of the season, I was glad that Newcastle kept Osula because obviously there was rumours there that I think it's a fact, isn't it, that he could have gone in September, like August time. So, and at the time I was thinking, what are we doing? We need squad depth. Osula could be useful. But then you fast forward to like January time, or even before then, like December. And the minutes that he did get, I know he wasn't playing much, but when he did come on, he didn't really show too much, I don't think. So you go back just a few months, and I think we're all expecting Osula to be surplus to requirements and be on his bike come this summer. But he's come on leaps and bounds, I think, the last few weeks. And he surprised me, really, because I just thought, you know what, I don't think he's quite got it. I don't think he's got enough to kind of cut it to make enough of an impact. But I think since he's been given a chance, I think in every game he's shown something. Even like, Palace away, I know we lost it, but he got that goal. And it's a bit of a thankless task, I think, in that formation when you just the one striker up front. I think he made the best of it. And then we saw on Saturday, like I said on the show last night, when he's got someone else closer to him, in this case it was Willock, he's even better. So, yeah, I mean, he's got, like you have said, when he comes in from the right-hand side, he's got this shot on his left foot.
He's got the trick as well, hasn't he? Yeah, that's the thing for me. Because I agree with Ian, I would play him on the right.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's always an option. I think.
But I'll tell you something else about Osula. For me, I've got no qualms about saying it. If I could have got 30 million for him in December, he would have been gone. But it's amazing what a bit of confidence does for you. And I think he's been a different player since he scored that goal against Man U. Different player altogether. And this is what confidence does for you. And it's such a big thing in football. People underestimate how big a thing it is.
I agree.
And our team right at the minute, and for most of the season, has been completely lacking in any sort of confidence.
Shot. I want to come back to you, Borky, about Osula and Wissa. So I heard you on the show, you were saying that why should we sell, any of them, either of them? We've got these strikers here, we've spent money on them, we need to maximise what we have. So would you keep Osula and Wissa? Obviously, I think Volamada as well, I think is your preference. So let's say you've got those three strikers. Well, A, would you keep them all? And B, if you would you still sign a new striker?
We've got such a big rebuild this summer, haven't we? We've got such a amount of players that we have to buy. I think we're all sitting here saying 7 or 8 players. I know Eddie Howe's saying 6, but I just don't see how their maths work out. Even if we don't really lose any players, we need more than 6. But if we do lose a few, we need to replace them as well. We spent the money big last summer on the strikers. We've got to this summer get them trained in and get them bedded into the team to make them work. So, I wouldn't get rid of any of them. I would say that Eddie Howe as a coach and the rest of his coaching staff have to get those three working in this team. So it might mean changing formation. It might mean changing, style of play or something like that. But, we can't, as I said earlier in the week, and I know I got shouted down a little bit, you can't go in and buy 11 to 13 players. You've got to keep it real. It's a hell of a lot of players to bring in over one transfer window, and that's looking like what we're going to have to do. So, if you look at it, we're striking situation isn't at its worst. Midfield, potentially, we're going to have to bring a couple of midfielders in the winger, and defence is the big area, and goalkeeper where we'll have to build. So, you have to sort of build your foundations up around where you need them. And this summer is around the goalkeeper and the back four, really. That's really where we need to focus in on. And I know it's not the most exciting. They're not going to be the biggest names of signings. They're not going to be the most exciting signings. But if you look at the team, that's really where we need people.
So like Ian, you would be veering towards actually not signing a striker at all if you can get good numbers elsewhere.
You've got to expect the manager to play a tune out to players that he's bought in, don't you? You have to. We've got to remember now, these are all Eddie Howe signings. These are all guys he's wanted into this club. So, it's up to him now to get the tune out of them. It's up to him to get them playing together. And hey, we might not play Pep football, but I don't think that's a bad thing. You know, let's play Eddie Howe football. You know, Eddie Howe obviously has an idea with these players. There's got to be something somewhere with him in his head, and you know he's going to be here next season, so there's got to be something where in his head where he knows where these players fit in. Now, what he needs to do is make that happen. You know, and that's what's been disappointing over the last month because everybody's been saying, "Oh, he hasn't had the time on the training pitch." I would argue he has a little bit now, but here, look, I've lost the argument. He's going to be here next season, so over the summer, give him the time to get them players ready to play in a Newcastle United style of football, in a style of football Eddie Howe wants to play.
And I think
Well,
the key also is to get those signings in quickly, so that we've got them all in for a full pre-season.
I agree with that, Win.
And
And
that's going to
ideally, yes.
if we're going for high quality, everybody's saying, oh well, they'll be waiting until after the World Cup before. If you're waiting till after the World Cup, they'll be coming from the World Cup. They'll want a week off, or at least a week off after the World Cup to have their holidays, and you're then losing that valuable pre-season training camp with the rest of the squad.
I think we can all agree on this. We know there's 4 positions that we'll have to buy. We'll have to buy a goalkeeper. We'll have to buy a right back. We'll have to buy a centre back, and we'll have to buy a left back. You know, they're 4 positions that we're desperately short in. Why wait? Just get that done at the start of the window, and then the rest of the window you can look if things happen, if players start to want to go and stuff. You can look into that. You've got the people there to deal with that. But if you don't get those deals over the ground at the very start of the window, you're beginning then to get into a situation where we were last season, where we're panicking to get players in that we desperately need.
What I would say, right, to that is, I absolutely agree. Ideally, yes, get it done and dusted early, and like you said, learn from last summer. What I'm interested in a way, is to see if they're prepared for that not to happen, because it is football. So you might have your first choice lined up. As far as you're aware, you gave the go ahead and it's all set to go, but somebody else might come in, last minute, and then you lose out on them. So I want us to be prepared, so that if we have to pivot to somebody else, we're not scrambling around. We're not umming and ahhing about whether he's good enough or not, second choice on the list. We have somebody to go to straight away. That's what, because like I say, I think it's never going to be perfect with transfers. So I want us to be prepared that way. And I want to just go on with Craig Hope's article in a minute, because he's got a few more exclusives here that I want to cover. But before I do, just to say about the turnover of players, and you mentioned, Borky, about the 8, 9, 10, 11 players. Is it too much? And normally I agree. I think it is. And I would have always said you do need that continuity, and you're asking for trouble if you have a high turnover. But what I would also say is, you look at Nottingham Forest 2 years ago, and you look at Sunderland this season. Like in Forest's case, they had to get a high number of players in, because a lot of their players in the Championship were on loan. So when the season finished and the Premier League started, they actually literally didn't have the players there.
And that was under Wilson, by the way.
Yeah, true. So they had a massive turnover. It was chaos, really, and everyone was looking at it thinking, how on earth are they going to adapt? And they survived. They survived that season, I think it was, and then they followed up last season. Was it last season? Yeah, with the 5th place finish or 7th place finish. So like, and Sunderland as well this season. So the point is, to me, is that I think it can be done, and I just think maybe should we not relish that a bit more, and should Eddie Howe maybe not relish that a bit more, where you have to take some risks here and there, but I just think maybe we do have to have a big turnover. Peter, where do you stand on that?
I know you want to move on from. Sorry, Peter. I'll just quickly put this point in. I know you're saying that and that, but those were teams that had came up and had to do that sort of thing. We're an established Premier League team. It should be now that we have sort of a rotation of players coming in, not having to do a full rebuild after one season. That's the big worry is where we are. That's my worry.
Okay, but on that, we've mismanaged it, haven't we? We haven't been replacing 2 or 3 players for the last 2 or 3 summers before last year. That's why we've got them all finishing their contracts and leaving and retiring. That's why we've got, the first 5 are the contracts that are expiring, aren't they? You say one centre half, but you might be looking to replace Lascelles and Shaw, I would say, just to have the same size squad at centre back this year. And that's if Kraft and Trippier go, that's 2 right backs we need, you know. So I agree. I agree that we need to be making more than 4 or 5 signings.
Okay. Okay.
Particularly
Peter.
if it's Tino and Gordon that go.
Yeah, it's dependent, isn't it, on who goes. So we've got a set amount we need to get, and then it's a case of, well, if somebody else goes, we have to act upon that. But yeah, I mean, what do you think, Peter? High turnover or try and keep it down?
I'm not sure if you'll have a choice. How can it not be a high turnover? Because, like you said, I mean, you go through the back 4. Trippier's going. Shaw's probably going to go. We've got no cover for left back. That's 3. You'd probably need, I would say, another defender to come in to replace Kraft if he's going to go. That's 4 already. You've got Gordon, who I think he will leave. Anthony Gordon. I think he'll go possibly, from what the rumours are saying, abroad to maybe Bayern Munich, which is bonkers like. But if that's, if they want him, then brilliant. So I think he'll go, put it that way. So that's another player. That's 5. So, and that's before you start looking at the players this season who maybe have let Eddie Howe down, in terms of like, do you draw a line and you say, do you know what, we need to kind of like set the tone here and drop or sell players who aren't doing it anymore. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a minimum of 5 signings, maybe 6. And then you've got, like I say, maybe they might want to get a new striker, might want to get a new right winger. I think it's going to be a big call as to what they do for right wing. I think for me personally, I would get a new right winger. I think Elanga and Murphy. To be fair to Murphy, he actually showed up on Saturday. To be fair to him, he was good. It's just a shame that he let himself down against Bournemouth when he didn't track the run. And I think that everyone kind of that got everyone's backs up. I think that because that was not what you'd expect from Jacob Murphy. But yeah, I just think next season that there's so many positions you can look at that makes you think to yourself, it's going to be difficult for it not to be a high turnover. So yeah.
I agree.
With regard to, did you hear that we've been linked with Nunez?
Yeah, I heard you talking about that the back end. Yeah, so I mean, what did you say about that win? Would you take him?
I would take him on a free, absolutely. Yeah.
And would you keep Wister and Osula as well, or would you get rid of one of those?
I think if we had those 4, which would effectively cost nothing, you've got Osula to play on the right wing instead of Elanga. Because do we take a hit on Elanga and sell him for 25 or whatever we could get for him?
Yeah.
Or do we try and cultivate him? Second season syndrome, as they say. Which we're all, well, I'm certainly hoping for Wisser and Walter Marder. And I think if we had those 4, and I'd be starting with Osula on the right wing and see how that went. And as Borky said, concentrate on
other positions.
On the back, because it's the defence that's let we're down this season.
You see, that's one of the, I think, question marks, or one of the topics that's going to come up this summer is, are we going to be ruthless that way? I think that's one of the gripes this season in some of the team selections we've seen. We haven't been ruthless enough. We haven't dropped players like J7, for example. Just off the top of my head, but there's other players, Anthony Gordon, maybe. Well, definitely. And you look at the summer transfer window and you look at that right wing spot. Yeah, I agree. When I'd play Osula right wing, I think that would be a good option. But I'm not sure are the club really going to cut the losses on Elanga. I would. I think he's been awful. I mean, I actually think, he's one of the worst. I don't want to be too harsh on the lad, but maybe one of the worst signings I've seen. And You know, I've been watching for a long time, so that's saying something. But you're right. You never know in football.
You never know.
You
I
could- you
mean,
could
I
turn it
think
round,
of
but-
Osula. Look at the transformation, and again, it's confidence levels, isn't it? Because Alanga's confidence, you can tell, is just down there. You know, if he was to come on, have a blinder, get a couple of goals, who knows what that would do to his game. I
But you can't really-
still go back to his debut against Villa. If he'd scored that goal in the first minute, he'd be.
But you can't really compare Langa to Osula, because Osula was brought in as a project player, as a player that had the potential, wasn't there. Elanga was brought in on the big money because he was the player who, you know, we thought would
Yeah,
just
he was
slot
gonna
straight into the
replace
team,
Murphy.
and yeah, he would
he's
do
ready,
it
wasn't he?
straight away. Yeah,
And he struggled with that, hasn't he?
That's the big
expectation.
problem. And the worry is if we're going this transfer window doing the same sort of thing, you know, we've done the same thing a lot this season. If we do the transfer window the same, do we get the same results? You know, we've got to be really careful this window on what money we spend on players.
Ian?
I think you've just hit the nail on the head. I don't think you can take a hit on Wissa or Alanga because, yes, we're going to get some Champions League money for that, but next year we don't have any European money coming in. I don't think you can start.
Who says we're doing? Palace are through to the final as
Creating-
well. Could be down to 10th.
Right, okay. But it's not going to get very much money if we're in the Conference League anyway, Wayne. Don't worry, mate. The point is we cannot really start for future transfers with a negative. I mean, how much do you lose on Wissa? 40 million? How much do you lose on Alanga? 25 million? You cannot start with negative 65 and then think you can go out and buy a right winger and a forward. I do like Nunez and available on a free. I mean, I wanted him as to be part of the Isaac deal. But I think he's great. But I don't know whether we'll need him if we're going to make Osula. You know, I'd like
Well,
Yeah,
in with a super chat there saying, poor Ian, bookended by the washy-washy twins.
It's so harsh and
Do you,
unnecessary.
in all seriousness, do you guys see Wissa and do you guys see Malanga coming good next season? Do you see anything in them or their performances so far this season that makes you think, you know, there's something there?
I think Wissa's shown over 5 years that he's a good striker. And, you know, he got injured. He came back too soon and injured himself again. I don't think we've seen him yet. To be honest. And if he's not confident because he knows he's not 100%, that'd be why he's missing the sitters. Missed another one, didn't he, against Brighton on Saturday.
You look
But
lively.
I
but
would,
yeah.
By the way,
he
just
did.
on that Brighton game, on the Brighton game, they're on about how Wissa cocked his chance up and that it was the keeper who passed the ball to Harvey Barnes. If you watch that again, Wissa was trying to pass the ball to Barnes when the keeper stuck his foot in the way.
Yeah. No, I think it's an interesting point about the
that's
strikers
the
with
same
like
thing.
Nunez. At least the intent was there, I suppose. But like, I think with Nunez, will he get enough goals? But at the same time, like you say, Ian, if Wissa can get up to speeds, we know he can score in the Premier League. So maybe there's enough between them all.
If he's fit,
But how
depending
do
on
you
the
get?
opposition? You
Ian?
could start Walter Mata with Wissa, or Walter Mata with Osula, and the other one coming on after an hour. It's a great swap. I mean, you know, we'll be threatening, we'll be fast throughout the
But
game.
look,
Yeah?
at risk of losing another host, who do you pick if you know? Sorry, how do you get goals if you're not picked? You know, whose fault is it that Wissa isn't up to speed? That he hasn't had the game time to get up to speed, and who's the guy that's not given that?
I'll come back on that. Go on, Win. You got that comment.
Just because Gavin's saying Nunez is another runner, can't hit a barn door, but better than De Crop. But he is feisty character, and Eddie will have that he wants. Yes, man. That wasn't the one I meant to put up. The one I meant to put up about Nunez somewhere was that when he went to Liverpool, he went to a big club. and he wasn't up to that
Yeah,
huge
the
club
expectation.
expectation. But if he came here, maybe he'd recapture his Benfica form, which is what I would be hoping
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
Well, he's, I
It's a
mean,
And
I
it
fair
is
think
a
he
fair
scored
point
40
because a
odd
lot of
goals.
players go to
He's-
big clubs and fail. You could argue that about Alanga.
he's-
Sula. No,
He
not
scored,
Sula.
he scored 40. Scored 40 goals in
Wissa.
140 games for Liverpool, which is a pretty good return.
Yeah, it's not bad at
No,
all.
he might have missed another 40 goals, but
Yeah.
no one's saying that he's Erling Haaland. If he comes
Well,
for free,
like I said, no,
I think he'd be a
I
great
liken him
addition.
to Andy Cole because he misses loads, but he's there to miss them and he scores loads.
I think the profile is definitely spot on in terms of that pace, in terms of, I think we would all play the two strikers, Voltemada just behind. So from that point of view, there, I think the link-up play would be there, absolutely. To go back to your point, Borky, about Wissa, it's a conundrum because, we're all sitting here saying we would play Osula, we would play Nunez potentially, but we would also keep Wissa because we want the options. But like you're saying, Borky, well, how does Wissa then get up to speed if he's not the first choice? It is a conundrum. So obviously, and you're saying yourself, Borky, you would keep them all. So how would you get Wissa up to speed? Would you have him to bench a bit more often, or would you actually start the season with Wissa? What would you do?
It's a really hard one because I want to play a Sula as well. But I think with Wissa, if you're keeping him, if we're going to keep him, he's 30 years old next season. You've got to start with him. It's pointless keeping him on the bench and trying to develop him. He's not going to develop now. He's a fully grown man. He's a fully grown footballer. I think the better, and I've said this on the channel before, the best thing we could have done was let him go off with the Congo and get himself up to speed. And get himself up to that level, at least a certain level. I think I just think he's such a wasted talent. He's there's obviously something there, and it's the same with Alanga. There's something there. You just need to get it out of them, and how you do that, I don't think we do play in our style of football. I think that's the problem. If you look at the way Alanga played and the way Wissa played under their old clubs in the Premier League, it was nothing like Newcastle United play now. And that's the major issue. We've bought players, but we've bought them to play a style of football that doesn't suit them. We've got to change our style of football for them lads. When do you see us with wingers sticking to the wings, absolutely flying down the wings? They don't. They all want to cut inside and try to score goals. Murphy's maybe is the slightly odd option to that one. But, the rest of them are all sort of cutter-inners. Whereas what we need with the strikers that we've got probably are people flying down the wing and, hey, we'll chuck more crosses than anything in the world and we'll miss a load. But there'll be that odd occasion where we will get on the end of things, and that's the type of players we've got. They're not going to be prolific. They're not going to be prolific, as Wynne said, like Andy Cole, goal putters away as in percentage-wise. But if they get enough chances, they'll score.
Yeah.
And, they'll be in the right position.
The thing is, right, is just, I'll come on to you in a second, Peter, but with Wissa, just to what you're saying there, Borgie, Wissa was a fox in the box, wasn't he, at Brentford? So you need the ball in the box, obviously, you form to be getting on the end of things. And I heard that we have put in the most crosses, I think, anyway, out of all the Premier League teams. And the thing is with that is, at the same time, it's pendulum football first and then crosses at the end. So what that tells me is kind of what you're saying, Borky, in that we're not playing the right football, in that we're not getting early crosses in, so that Wissa, I mean, he hasn't played enough as well, but Wissa can be the fox in the box, so he can lose his marker, he can get on the end of things. He's not going to be wanting to play, tippy-tappy on the edge of the box, is he? I think on the break as well, if we've got Voltemada there, and Wissa's right on the shoulder, Voltemada can then play him in a lot more. We've seen it against Arsenal. I think that was a snapshot as to what we could see. So I agree in terms of the style of football. I think it hasn't necessarily suited some of the players. And obviously, like you say, Alanga, he was counter-attack at Forest. And we've played a lot of, like I say, pendulum football. That's not his game. What were we going to say, Peter?
I think where Wissa let himself down was when he did come into the team. His hold-up play, his link-up play wasn't there. It wasn't very good, was it? He was. I think he looked a bit bemused. He looked kind of like his body language wasn't great. He was getting fed up quite easily. He's flailing his hands in the air when passes weren't coming off, and that didn't give off the right vibes really. But he just looked really rusty. Like I say, his link-up play was poor, and from then on, in the end he got dropped, and then since that point he's not had a look in. But no, I think for me, you can't score 19 goals in the Premier League for Brentford and just all of a sudden lose that. I think that, like you say, Borky, there's something there. There's a striker there. I've got more faith in Wissa coming good than Elanga, for sure. So, and like I said on the show last week, I mean, if you've got someone who can score goals, that's gold dust. So you don't let go of that easily. Do you know what I mean? I think we've got to try and get something from Wissa next season. So, yeah, that's why I'm kind of surprised that he's not getting... It's a funny one because this season, this running that we've got, I thought we would see more of Wissa up front. And he's went for Osula, which surprised everyone. But ironically, Osula's doing the business. So now it's like, well, what do you do? I think maybe looking forwards, Wissa and Osula could be a decent combination, but then you want to fit in Voltemata. So, like you say, Win, maybe the solution is to put Osula right wing, and that keeps everyone happy, and you get the best out of everyone then.
Well, speaking of...
can I be honest? I don't like the idea of putting Osula right wing. I just think, if he's doing well up front, he's a striker, keep him up there. Let him develop in that position. We're trying the same with Mailey. We're trying the same. We're trying the same with Mailey. We've tried the same with Gordon. We've tried the same with Dan Burn, and playing them the wrong positions to try to get a tune out of them. If you've got a good guitar or a good flute, play them in the right position, play them the right way. And that's the way to get the best tune out of them.
So we just start Voltemata and Osula up front.
I'd start Voltemata as a. I'd go old style. I'd go 4-4-2, but with a strike force where one striker slightly off the other. So,
like Willock was against Brighton.
Yeah, exactly like that, mate. That would be my idea.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't necessarily have the same centre forward as first choice for every game. I think you would pick and choose whether it was Osula or whether it was Wissa who would start up there, or whether it was Nunez if got him. Because then you've got a really, really effective substitution that doesn't impact the quality of us going forward in the last half an hour.
Yeah. Let's be honest, in Premier League, in Premier League games, and if you're in Europe, you play your best striker. So if you're going in with some guy as your number 9 for the season, they're the person that you play. Yeah, fair enough. Rotate them in cup competitions, I get that, but for me, you don't rotate strikers in regards to it during the season. You have your front two, they're your main focus guys, and yes, you rotate them in cup competitions and things like that, but not Premier League and not major competitions.
Do you know what though? I just hope that we do actually go on and play 2 up front. We've done that on Saturday. It seems like Eddie is going to still be there next season. So if he is still the man, I'm just crossing my fingers that he takes that forward now. I mean, I said on the last show, I was just stunned that I seen that setup. Never in the world I thought that Eddie would rip up the 4-3-3 or 4-5-1. I know he's went wing backs the odd time. To be fair, he has changed it that way the odd time, but I don't think I can remember Eddie Howe playing 4-4-2 at Newcastle, and we've been crying out for that, and it was just brilliant to see. And that like 2-pronged attack, you're just so much more of a threat going forward. So, and it allows you to get the best out of the strikers you've got, rather than having this conundrum of like, who do you play up for this time, So yeah, we'll see.
Peter, completely agree, but why has it took the 34 games into the season for that to be the case? Or 35 games into the season? Why has it took that long?
Yeah.
And that going forward, that makes me wary that he will continue the 4-4-2, and it makes me think, because he's so wedded to 4-3-3 and been reluctant to change it up until right now, that I think he may well revert back come the new season, to his quote tried and trusted. And yeah, that is a worry. It really is from my point of view, and it will be disappointing if he does that. Go on, Win. You're going to say something.
Ruprecht von Strudelhoodle is saying Wissa played left front attacker for Brentford. Osula can play right front attacker as well as in the middle, and Nick can link them both, especially if they swap sides and all head into the box.
It's a good point. 4-3-1-2. I think you've mentioned it, Peter. You know, when Kevin Keegan came back to Newcastle for that short stint, we had Michael Owen in the number 10 with Mark Viduka and Obafemi Martins ahead of him. So it's a three-pronged attack. So yeah, hypothetically, that is definitely an option. You could have Voltemada there with Osula and Wissa in front of him. And can you imagine the balls that Voltemada could potentially play? I do think he does need to adapt, like you say, Winner. I think there's a bit of both with Voltemada. He's had his struggles, but I think if he had those options in front of him to bounce off, I think he would thrive. But again, I don't think Eddie Howe will do that, and it's disappointing. We will see.
At least he did. I know he did. Obviously, we're saying it's taken so long, and why that is. That's the $1 million question, isn't it? But at least he actually did play two strikers finally. Do you know what I mean? Like, it does give a little bit of hope that there's a chance, at least, that he's going to maybe play that a bit more often now going forwards. But like I say, we'll see.
Yeah, the problem was the two strikers he played were not the strikers that are cost were £220 million.
I know, but
you know that's the major worry. That's the major point.
It's true, but at the same time, they actually linked quite well. Do you know what I mean?
They did a great job.
And also, by the way, that was the rebirth of the J7 Wissa left wing.
Oh, J7 and Wissa down the right left wing. Come on, we've got to move on from that. We've got to. They were here when Bruce was here, man.
Yeah.
Here to stay, Borky. It's here to stay.
Oh, I know. Like, is that a bit like Win?
Exactly. Win's never going there. What I want to mention as well is what Craig Hope brings up in the article, speaking of strikers. And I think I know what most might say this, but he brings up Liam Delap. And what he says is that Newcastle would be willing to explore a move for him this summer, but the message remains from Chelsea that he's not for sale and he doesn't want to leave Chelsea. So even though we've looked at him and inquired, it seems that we're not going to be able to sign him anyway. I mean, there is talk that things might change in the summer. Chelsea are busy in the window. But it also goes on to state that Newcastle are not prepared to gamble on that and have other attacking targets in mind. So we've looked at Delap, and because we can't, I think, like you said at the start of this show, you want to get things agreed early. Because Newcastle want to do that, fingers crossed it seems it'll happen, then they don't want to just leave it up in the lap of the gods as to whether Delap might change his mind. So I think that's positive. Are you happy with that if Delap doesn't come, or would he have been one that you wouldn't have minded to see?
He wouldn't have been anywhere near number one on my list, put it like that.
Well, mine. One thing which we probably didn't buy anybody in the winter transfer window, so that we've got a little bit of spare cash for June, because the cut-off point's 30th of June, isn't it? So there's still be clubs who are worried about passing their financial regulations, and there could be a bargain or two to be had if we can move this side of the 30th of June, particularly from the relegated sides. Maybe Chelsea are struggling when we've seen how much money they're burning through. Maybe Villa have got a problem again. There could be some bargains to be had, and if we've got some spare cash, that should be some early things we would go for. It could be even bigger bargain than if you wait until after June. So hopefully Wilson's on top of that. That's
the only problem there is the window doesn't actually open till 1st of July. So I'm not sure how that money transfer would work in terms of the books.
Western Union?
Well, no. You can still sign. Technically, we could sign a player now and pay the money now.
We could agree a deal.
But
it wouldn't help anybody's. It wouldn't help anybody's PSO.
No, that's fair enough. But
Because
you could sign a player now.
They can't get it
Well,
until
no,
after.
no, you could. You could sign a player now, pay for them,
What
have
did
them
we
ready to
do-
come in, and it
what
would
did we
help
do
their
s-
PSR. Because it
We
would be classed
sold
as being in
Elliot
this
and
window.
Minter on the 30th of June, Wayne. Did we not sell Elliot Anderson and Minter on the 30th of June to just get in under the wire on PSR? Didn't we? Or was it a different
I can't
date?
remember.
Yeah, but that was because it was
We
the swap.
did.
It was the swap deal.
No, Ian's right.
Wasn't a
You
swap
can
deal.
do it if you do get it right. I think you get the timing right.
We
That's
had
why
to sell
why would we have
Anderson.
sold Alderson?
Yeah, it's a new window, isn't it? I think.
Yes.
But
Mhm.
but you can actually do it before then, I believe, and it doesn't contribute towards the new SCR or whatever.
I think it's
We've lost
the
Win for the
window's
rest of the
open,
night while
isn't
he
it?
tippy taps
After
this.
the
Yeah, you have a look, Win, and let us know
Yeah.
once you've found. Peter, what do you think of Delap?
Was a super chat there just before we
yeah,
move
go
on,
for it.
lads.
Cheers.
Yeah, it was a.
Let's have a look. So Waza
Yeah.
says it's very sad we're relying on Project Osula in it. I mean, it's unexpected.
July the 1st, Anderson went.
It's sad in some ways, but it's good in other ways. You know, if you're getting young players in, if that proves that we can get young players, you know, we've looked around leagues and we've bought someone for 15 million who's going to now be a Premier League player for us. That's a hell of it's sad in the way that we've had to spend
Well
120
done,
million
Jason
pounds on the
Tindall.
others. Yeah, but it's great that we've found this player for 15 million pounds. That's now our main striker.
Yeah, well, like the report says, the source at Newcastle has said to Craig Hope that if they sell Osula, they would end up having to look for another Osula, another gem. So,
Why?
yeah, like you say, we want to be finding these gems, more of these gems. It seems like we might have found one in Osula, even though he was wrought off and people were unsure. He didn't play loads, obviously, before now. But, yeah, if he is this rough diamonds and he's coming good, like you say, it's not necessarily a bad thing. And he could be someone we could rely on next season. Peter, yeah, just to come to you about Delap, would you be wanting him ideally, or would you be happy to pass?
Probably pass, to be fair to him, right? Whenever I've seen him for Chelsea, I don't think he's been too bad. I think he's always quite, you can see he's keen to impress, and he's quite physical as well. He puts his body on the line, gets himself in the way. So he doesn't mind the hustle and bustle. I think he's quite sort of quick. So I can see why they wanted him like last summer. But I think this summer, I'm not sure if it would be the right fit. You're signing a striker there who is going off the back of a season where things haven't fell for him. He hasn't really had much game time. After the season Newcastle have had, is that the kind of striker that you want to bring in, you know, as someone who you're going to hang your hat on to get goals? I'd rather, in an ideal world, the club hopefully will be signing a striker who is kind of in that rhythm. They've got that momentum from coming from a club where they're already scoring goals. They've got that confidence from the previous season. So it'll be a lot of pressure on Delap, I think, if he came to Newcastle.
His confidence is shot, isn't it, at the moment?
It's like signing Chris Wood without any goals. I think he's a brute, isn't he? But he doesn't score. One goal, I think he's got for Chelsea.
Yeah,
I quite liked him when he was at Ipswich. I thought he looked promising.
Yeah, he did.
But Chelsea have ruined him.
I think the move was too much. I think it was too quick for him to go from Ipswich to Chelsea. He needed to go somewhere, to be fair, maybe like us in terms of, even though we got Champions League last season, but maybe less expectation in terms of like the crowds. And he might have been rotated a bit more and given more game time as well, where at Chelsea, he didn't start the season. So when he came on as a sub, it was like, right, you need to impress ASAP, otherwise you're out the side again. But yeah, I think that's what sale.
The chat are kind of asking
must
the
have been
question,
absolutely.
do you sell Osula to buy Delap? Would that be our decision? And it wouldn't be mine. I'd keep Osula personally.
No, because I think Delap is basically like an Osula. Do you know what I mean? Like a rough diamond at Ipswich, and in Chelsea have got him. We've seen a rough diamond at Sheffield United. We've got him. One's came good at the moment with Newcastle, and one hasn't came good at Chelsea. So yeah, to me, I wouldn't trade them. I think it'll be pointless.
Delap was much further on when he was at Ipswich because he'd scored 10 or 12 goals for them
Yeah.
that season. He'd looked good.
True.
But I mean, can you imagine for Delap? He must have been sickened after his first training session when he turns up and he's got to play alongside João Pedro, and that's who he's in competition with for the centre forward starting position. And João Pedro is gorgeous, silky, thoughtful, creative, wonderful player. And Delap's got to think he's got to be better than him to get in. That's why he didn't get in. I'm sure he'd be looking to move.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens like with Chelsea and Delap this summer. With the chaos they have there. Crazy. Christina says, I think that's how I say it, but apparently I just say Minter. So Christina was saying, Minter. How do you pronounce it? It is a weird one. Like, I don't know how to say it sometimes, but Minter. Minter.
Imagine it was ER on the end.
Minter.
No, Minter. It sounds like a Geordie name, really, doesn't it? Minter.
Well, the famous boxer.
Minter, man.
I've been out with a few Munters. Is that the same sort of thing?
Right, no.
Well, Minter had certainly had a nightmare at St James's, thankfully, against us. Like he's got all the pace, hasn't he? But he's really raw still. Do you know what I mean? Like he's played at Brighton for 2 seasons now, but he's still very raw. He's a good player, but yeah, he hasn't maybe came on as I thought he might have when you hear all the hype.
What would you rather have? What would you rather have, Tim? A player who's sort of raw, or a player who's been Premier League trained and just doesn't show it? It's a difficult one because you've look at the two of them. You look at Elanga and Minty, and you think, who would you rather have? You know, and you think, you know what? You think yourself, Elanga could become good if he goes back to the way he was when he was at Forest. He could be brilliant forward, but. Is Minter, whatever the hell you call him, is he the better prospect?
The difference.
It's a horrible prospect.
Yeah, I get it. Like the difference for me is the demeanor and the attitude. And for all it was going wrong for Minter, I'm conscious now when I say that name.
Minty.
See what you've done,
yeah,
Tina.
We'll stick a Minty. Exactly. Cheers, Tina. Cheers. But yeah. Every time he lost the ball, I mean, he was good, but you could see he had that passion. You could see he had that drive, and he was frustrated. But I think he's a character where he's like, give us the ball again. Elanga, sadly, I think finds it at the moment too much in Newcastle. You know, I think the expectation has weighed him down. Like you have all said, his confidence is shot. And I question whether Elanga is made up for and built for a club like Newcastle, never mind, you know, even further up the food chain, if you like. So, Nicky, I think Peter, go on, Peter.
Just quickly, just to jump in there as well on Elanga and on the point you're making there, there was an interesting insight that Nicky Butt gave a couple of weeks ago about Anthony Elanga, and he was more making a point about Garnacho at Chelsea because the point he was making was that Garnacho's kind of gotten above his station. He's got a big ego, and he was saying that when he was at Man United, Nicky Butt was coaching the academy kids at that time, and he said that Garnacho was there and Anthony Elanga was there as well at the same time, and he said that basically, although he's slating Garnacho now, he says back then his kind of ego, if you like, or his attitude was actually his major strength in that if he lost the ball, he'd want it again. And if he tried to beat the fullback, it wouldn't faze him. He'll try and beat him the next time. He'll try and beat him again. And then he compared that with Elanga, and he kind of said, we had Anthony Elanga at that time, who he felt was actually the better player, but mentally wasn't as strong because when Elanga would get the ball, if he lost it and if he tried to take on the fullback, he wouldn't then want to do it the next time. And this was at Man United at the academy. He was saying it in a way where I think he was assuming that he's kind of come on leaps and bounds since then. I don't think he realises that it's kind of still the same now at Newcastle with Elanga. But I just thought that it was an interesting insight into his psyche and his state of mind, really. I think he is kind of one of these players who is just, he hasn't got that fire in his belly, unfortunately. And he would need a massive shake to change that. So, and I think it's unlikely, but we'll see, I guess.
Was it there says Garnacho and Martinelli both crap. I agree that Martinelli, I think, hasn't came on at Arsenal like I thought he would have. He's a decent player. Obviously, the top of the league. He's played his part, but I don't think he's an elite player by any stretch. I want to just go through a few more of the comments here. We've got our resident Mackham in the house, Terry, saying Nunez won't come to England. It's the tax would mean any player that leaves England for Saudi defeats the object of earning big money. They will be taxed. That's why Henderson went to Holland for 2 years. Yeah, because I think if they leave early in Saudi,
That's
they have to
bollocks.
pay the tax, don't
That's
they?
bollocks, Tim.
Yeah,
Is it Ian?
It's
Enlighten us.
Nunez is Uruguayan. He's not British. So if he's a Uruguayan who's earned his money in Saudi Arabia, the British government can't take any of it. He'll get taxed heavily when he comes back to England. But the difference with Henderson is that he was an Englishman paying English or British, paying British tax, and went to Saudi for 6 months and wanted to come back. They hadn't spent long enough out of the country not to qualify to pay tax in that year as well. So
there you go.
I don't think that's right.
I'm guessing it's not like being a person who works for a company going over to somewhere like Saudi and working for them. As a footballer, you're sort of a self-entity. So if you've got to come back, you've got to pay that tax. So you go across.
You don't. Not.
Do you
If
not?
you went across and worked for 90 days,
if you went across for 90 days.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Basically, you've got to be there a certain amount of time before you come back. Before you go and you have to pay a tax. Or you don't pay a tax.
Well,
you
that's
will
right.
pay
That
tax,
is absolutely right.
But as far as Nunez is concerned, he'll only pay tax to the British government on what he gets paid by.
Well, he won't because he's not British. He won't pay.
Well, he still pays tax in this country, because he'll be a resident in this country, so he'll pay tax on what he earns in this country, not what he's earned anywhere else he's ever been.
Right.
I think this is a niche subject. We'll move on.
Yeah, I'm not going to work.
There was talk about Ivan Toney coming. Now, he would have problems because he'd have to come back with all his wealth, and they would find some way of getting that off him, whether it's through his investments or return on investments or whatever.
That's kind of what I'm saying. If you're British and you go abroad and you play for the Saudi leagues, if you come back to Britain, you've got to pay your tax that you would have paid in Britain, basically, or if it's within 2 years. Whereas if you're a foreign entity and you go across there, you maybe don't have to pay the same rate of tax as the guessing that I'm doing.
It's got nothing to do. The rates are based on your earnings, nothing else.
Right.
He was in England before, and he'd have paid his tax when he paid in England.
All his taxes in England.
The thing is that he stops being a tax resident as soon as he moves to Saudi. And I don't think he ends up being another UK tax resident till he moves back. But I don't think they've got any right to his money. As long as he doesn't move back after 90 days, if he gets into another tax year, then I'm sure it changes. I'm sure that's the difference. It's British players that'll get caught.
I've got a really question I want to answer here, but it's really niche, and I don't think anybody will like it. But I'm going to ask it anyway. If a player lives in Saudi and flies across here just to play football games, can they just pay Saudi tax?
They would need a work permit, and to get a work permit, they would have to be registered for tax.
Right, fair enough.
Got any plans like Borgie?
Well, I was thinking, I could fly after having to sign all these contracts for this channel. I was thinking I could fly across to Saudi each week and save myself a fortune.
There you go.
Save myself the 50 grand a year that I'm having to pay now.
I wish.
David Spence says, I'd rather have Solanke. What do you think of that?
Me too.
Me too.
I've always rated Solanke.
Yeah, 100%.
When I first recommended Solanke when he was at Bournemouth, because I thought
Delap.
Delap, yeah.
I thought 70 million for Solanke was a steal. And everybody's saying, "Oh, bloody Bournemouth, Bournemouth, Bournemouth."
What was it, 70 million?
Huh?
Don't know if it's a
Or
steal. I
70
mean, he's a
million,
good
maybe it's
player.
a bit of a change of mind.
He's a good player, and I think he will give you goals. That's the thing, and that is hard to come by. But whether he's a real difference maker, and you could get better, and the profile as well, is he pacey enough? Again, I would like to have somebody. It's difficult because somebody who can hold the ball, but also can run in behind, and that's kind of been a bit greedy, isn't it? But I think, to be fair, Terry in the comments there has mentioned Robbie for Sunderland, and he does seem to have a bit of both. Obviously, we unfortunately seen it firsthand, where he holds the ball like a tank, but can run in behind a bit as well. And can Solanke do that? Maybe he can, I don't know, but he's getting on it a little bit now, isn't he? 28, 29 years old. Gavin Fuller says he's a sick note as well, so there's question marks there. Was it?
Saying, Bogey, you haven't got the complexion for Saudi, son. You'll get you and your ginger heat will get sunburned.
Us gingers would die in Saudi. I think basically, I can think you're quite right, mate. I've got absolutely no chance.
Cheers, Wazza. Appreciate that, mate. And on the article by Craig Hope, I'm going to continue with this because he talks about Anthony Gordon. And he says that he's been in Munich this week and he can reveal that Bayern have now made contact with Newcastle over Anthony Gordon. And he says that the wingers camp, Anthony Gordon's camp, they will maintain dialogue with Newcastle in terms of kind of what they want to do in the summer. He says, Craig Hope, that the asking price is the sticking point and that the valuation is 20 million apart between the clubs at the moment. And what he also mentions, which is what a lot of people have mentioned about this whole saga with Gordon, is the sell-on clause. And he says it's, I think, as has been said, 15% of the profits. But he says it's important to distinguish between the two scenarios, if you like. He says, so Everton, they would take a slice of the fee above 45 million. Then obviously we paid for Gordon in 2023. So for example, if the deal is 75 million, then Everton would take 4.5 million. So it's not as if they take, 15% of
what we clear
everything.
But he's only standing us 12 grand on the books right now.
Yeah.
12 million on the books.
Yeah. So it's obviously maybe it's not ideal, is it? But maybe it's not the sticking point it could have been necessarily.
A deal breaker if he wants to go and we want to sell.
Yeah. Ian, where do you stand on Gordon? And if Bayern are wanting him, what would you do? Well, they are wanting him, according to Hope.
I really rate Anthony Gordon. I do like him. I didn't like his performance against Crystal Palace. I think his head's somewhere else now. I think the hip injury is a smokescreen because he's one of the players Howe was meaning he wouldn't pick because he's not 100% committed. All that being said, if Bayern want him, we've got to get an early deal done and get this cash in early. I'm not going to hang on to him. If he wants to go, we need the cash in from selling some of our players, and he's a really good place to start. So let's be honest, if you get your 70 million in for him, pay Everton their 4.5, there's your left back and your right back already paid for. Let's get them in before the World Cup as well.
I agree, 70. So you take 70, yeah. Obviously, like you say, the 4.5, so it'll be
about that.
65.
I think it's about that, isn't it?
Because they'll haggle,
we
want to get it done early, but we can only get it done early if the buying club, in this case, give us a price that we deem worthy. So, do you compromise that in order to get it done early, or do you stand your ground? Do you know what I mean? It is a balancing act, isn't it? So would you do it at 70, effectively 65, to get it done early?
I would.
I wouldn't go any lower than that, but I would have some add-ons on top as well. If they want us to knock down from what did we say he was 80 million? Is that what the price we put on him is?
75. I think
us to come down to 7. Well, if they want to come down 5 mil, then you get an extra 10 mil of add-ons to be paid further down the line, or you put a
Yeah. If he
sell-on
plays so
clause
many
in for
games and you
us.
win
Yeah.
X, Y, Z,
Yeah.
which is fair.
But yeah, I would
I'd just-
compromise within reason to be able to get him sold in June, July, rather than wait till August, because
So what
it
what
gives you so
what
much more
it's
flexibility in the market.
yeah, what it sounds like is we've put a deal in that it's above the amount that we paid for him, that they get a percentage of the sell-on fee.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
paid allegedly we paid 45.
So we paid 45 million. That's the baseline. So anything above that,
Anything
Everton get
above that,
15%.
15%.
Exactly.
You know, end of the day, if he doesn't want to play for,
Exactly.
you know, he's not the most loved player in the town. I know, apart from Wynne, who would kidnap him and lock it up in his cellar. But apart from that, anybody else in the town, I think he's not the most loved player in the
Not a lot of
town.
love lost on him. You're dead right.
Yep, if you can get that sort of money for him, 70, 75 million, let him go. You know, and
The only thing is, I think he would
get somebody
probably
else
get
in.
75 off Arsenal or even Liverpool, maybe. By the
So
way,
would you
Aston
take
Villa
him?
have won 4-0 and Palace have won 2-1, so they are both in their respective finals against Freiburg and Rayo Vallecano.
Win, where's that bit of paper? Tell me how we get Champions
So,
League this season.
That's it. Palace win the Conference League. They automatically go into Europa League. Don't take one of our spots. If Man City win the FA Cup, they don't take one of the Europa spots. So the three Europa spots we'll have then, and 2 Conference League, because Man City have already won the Carabao Cup, so 2 Conference League. So it would be, and if Villa would go into the Champions League as Europa winners. Palace go into Europa as conference winners. So we've then got a normal 5, and if Arsenal win the European Cup, 7 in the Champions League, 3, this is all on league positions now, 3 in Europa, bar Crystal Palace, and 2 in the conference.
So Win, what if Arsenal don't win? Sorry,
If Arsenal don't win, then if Arsenal don't win and Villa do, if Arsenal don't win, Villa do, we'll only have 6 in the Champions League. We'll still have 3 in the Europa, one of which will be Crystal Palace. But two based on league position and 2 based on league position in the conference.
Win, just so we know, to sing this week, what's a song for 3 in films?
Did we not? I thought I did that the other day.
No, we did 4. We haven't done 3 yet. You'll have to have a little think about that one.
The 3 legends or someone won it.
No, I
3
said
Musketeers.
Amigos, but
No,
that
the
meant
3
something
Amigos. That
different.
was it.
3 Amigos. Or the 3 Monkeys.
3 wise men.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, Borky. I don't know what you're talking about, mate.
Win had the Magnificent 7. Did you not see the video that he put out where we got copyrighted for playing the Magnificent 7?
Right.
And then we had the next thing was we had the 6 games left, and it was another song.
Was it the Dirty Half?
Then we had 5
Oh,
games
yeah,
left.
yeah,
and
got
another-
ya.
yeah,
Aye, nice,
and
aye.
we've got to a
Aye.
point now where we're down to 3 games left to get Champions
aye.
League. and-
3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Aye. Aye. I'll try and think of something. So, what's the
Dumb and
lowest
Dumber's
position?
a good one for 2. I like that one.
Does that go all the way down to that go all the way down to 11th now? Then Win for the conference.
Potentially.
Yeah,
Seriously,
but like,
11th.
yeah, I mean that's crazy.
Is
I don't
that
think
an
Arsenal
absolute
win.
joke?
I mean, we do have a chance, don't we? If that is the case, I don't think Arsenal personally will win the Champions League final. They might, but let's say if they don't win it, just tell us Win. Just straight up, what is the lowest position that could give us Conference League? If Villa win, Palace win, but Arsenal don't. Do you know?
Right. So then in the Champions League, you would have on league position. You'd have, as it stands, Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, Man United, and Aston Villa as things stand. And there's a 6-point gap between Villa and Bournemouth in 6th. But if Villa win the Europa, they go into the Champions League as Europa winners, so then it would go down to 6th in the Champions League, which currently would be Bournemouth. Then we've got 2 teams in the Europa League, one of which is the FA Cup winners.
Lads,
Now,
I'm doing a McDonald's breakfast order. Does anybody want out?
If Man City win the FA Cup, if Man City beat Chelsea in the FA Cup, that FA Cup winners' place goes to league position, which would currently be Brentford and Brighton. And if Palace win the Conference League, they get an additional place in the Europa. We'll have 3 then in the Europa, and that means we would have 2 in the Conference, which is currently Chelsea and Everton in 10th. But if Arsenal win, it's 11.
So hang on, where do we get?
Man
where
City
we are
get
now?
relegated. If Man City
So we are currently
get relegated,
three
it'll go down to
points
12th
behind
win.
Everton.
So I'm saying if where we're at now, where's where we deserve to be, where do we get now, Europe wise?
Well, we don't know where we deserve to be till after the season's finished.
No, but I'm saying we're at this point, if that's where we deserve to be, do we get into Europe at this point?
Not in 13th, you don't know.
No. All right.
Only with Thomas Cook bogey.
That's it.
Peter, do you think we can get Europe?
I wouldn't mind those hash browns, like, to be fair. No, I think. Do you know what? I think it's definitely, if you look at it like that, through that prism, then I think Europa Conference League is possible. But and I think, I would snap your hands off for that. I think it's not for there's no glamour in that competition at all. But if you're in that competition, it's just another avenue that you can go down the following season to get yourself into Europa League. So, like, for example, this season, can you imagine if we were in Conference League now? The league's been awful, hasn't it? But you'd be able to fall back on Europe and have a shortcut through to the Europa League. And it's I think it's, like I said, I'd snap your hands off for it. So I hope we do it. But
I
think that's the most we can hope for. I don't think we can hope for anything higher than that.
Newcastle and Sunderland qualify for the Conference League, and we'll play them in the final next year.
Well, that would be good.
Well, that's the thing. Sunderland do have a chance, don't they, of getting in the way if it's landing like that.
As long as they don't draw AC or Inter Milan in any of the competition, because then we wouldn't have a song.
Quick question: Who would you have thought at the start of the season would have the most chance of getting Europe, Newcastle or Sunderland, and who have the most chance now of getting Europe?
Exactly. Well, yeah. I think if you'd asked me before the game of the weekend, I would have said certainly Sunderland getting more chance. And obviously, at the start of the season, nobody would have thought that they had a better chance than us of getting Europe. And I do think now we've beat Brighton. I mean, it wasn't convincing, was it? And again, I've said before, what I saw in that game reaffirmed I think it's time for a change. But got a super chat there before I go ahead.
Andy Bell.
Hiya, mate.
From
Hello,
Turkey,
Andy,
boys. Hello, Andy. Are you enjoying the sun, son?
Or is he talking about my bingo wings?
Enjoy it, mate. Enjoy it.
Have fun. Have
a good time, mate. If you're away, have a really good time.
Yeah,
you deserve it.
Aye.
Yeah.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it. Yeah, so I think with the Europe and Sunderland's, I think, to be honest, I want to go back to the point I made at the start. Like I said, they made wholesale changes to their squad, and they're doing well. So, yeah, just to bring it back to that for a second, I think we need to be ruthless and bring in a whole host of new players, and it's down to Eddie Howe to try and implement what he needs to do in the training ground. But I think Eddie Howe doesn't want to do that. I think he wants to have that time in the training ground where the players don't go into the side initially, and he's very meticulous in working the system with the new players before he puts his trust in them. So that's why I'm very wary that he is the man for rebuild like this, unfortunately.
And just on that as well, you're talking about Anthony Gordon. I would be proactive in getting rid. And that, you see, when you have a
Before we
season like
do this,
we've had,
Peter, sorry, there's a good question from Connor in the chat about Gordon, which I think you're going to answer now. So shall we quickly pop that
Yeah.
on, let you keep speaking?
Yeah. So should Gordon play again this season? Will he play fully with World Cup coming up? Could lose Sale if he gets injured. Yeah. As his hip is an issue. Yeah. Which is, it is, but it isn't really, is it? That's, well, we can speculate, but it seems like an excuse, doesn't it? So, yeah, I think, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play again. I think he himself, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I mean, it may well be Anthony Gordon is saying to Eddie, I don't want to risk injury. Like, sorry, but I've got my heart set now on Bayern, and I'm not going to, and the World Cup as well. So that might not be the case, but yeah, I just think when you have a season like this season, you've got to draw a line and kind of send a message as well to the squad. You need a refresh. I think Anthony Gordon leaving the club, it would help. It would help Newcastle. It would help the players who were going to stay there at the club for next season. Just to kind of have a fresh outlook in terms of fresh blood's going to come in. Anthony Gordon, then, if he's playing next season left wing, I mean, for a fact, Barnes is just going to be banging his head against the wall because he'll be thinking, look, if I now can't get ahead of Anthony Gordon after that season, then he'll want to leave. So I think it would just help freshen things up. Honestly, for me, I'd be proactive and yeah, I wouldn't be too picky with whether it's 65 or 70 million. I mean, just take 65, if that's what they're offering, and do it quick. So you can then be quick yourself in getting into the markets and getting someone who's better than Anthony Gordon. Yeah, it'll be interesting because will Eddie want to do that? That's what we'll find out.
Yeah, got to pick your poison, get it done early, or try and get more money. Win, you got a super chat there.
Yep, and it's from Ian, one of the mods, and he's saying the most clubs you can have in Europe is 10. Well, I didn't know that was a rule. If that's a rule,
do you know what though? Can I be honest with this? We played in the Champions League this season, and when we used to play in the Champions League, it used to be a massive occasion. You knew the teams you were playing. You at least knew the teams of them. Who had heard of Karabakh before we really played them this year? Is it just getting too much of a money making competition rather than being an elite competition in the world?
Well, it's irrelevant.
Is it elite to get? Is it elite to get there if you can get there from being 6th, 7th in the league? Is that really what you want? It
takes away the prestige, doesn't it?
It does, at 100%, and it's like all European competitions. There should be 2 European competitions. There should be one in a Champions League and a Europa League. And each one should, hold its own prestige of winning. But I don't think that happens now. As we see, if we get into the what's the bottom competition called, the European Cup or something, is it, or the conference? You're going to win that. If you're a big team, you're going to win it. But is there any real prestige in doing that? Is there anything really that you think yourself?
You see, for me, it's not about the prestige for the conference. For me, I think, I agree, there's no prestige at all in that competition, but it's just an avenue to progress in it, to get into Europa.
But that's it. But why do you want to have competitions like that?
If we were going to the final of it in a fortnight, there would be tens of thousands of Geordies buying tickets to get across to wherever it's
trying to get tickets.
Oh, I would be buying a ticket.
Competition. That would be the most important competition this season if we
in the world
to the final of it.
100%.
And I think it's important that we. It's important that you'd start.
But Ian, if you take a step back, are these European competitions now what they used to be? We got through the last 16 of the Champions League, and to be fair, it would have been a disgrace if we didn't get there. That's the problem. In the past, it would have been it's a privilege to get there. Now, it's if you don't get there, then you're doing something wrong.
I mean, Villa didn't win the Conference League when they were in it. That's the crazy thing. Go on, Ian.
It's the economic reality of football. There's an insatiable demand for people to be able to watch match after match after match. So that's why they created the Conference League. It's all for extra games on the telly, for cash. And you can either sit there going, well, you've diluted the prestige of this competition. But I mean, or you could just get on with winning the competition. Do you know what I mean? There's no point railing against it because
there's no point. There's no point.
I completely agree with what you're saying, Ian. I completely agree. But
it's the wider point, isn't it?
It's the wider point of football and where football's going. It's like the World Cup. Even is there about 3 million teams that go into this World Cup and it gets condensed down? You know, I know that's a complete fabrication, but you know, you used to have like a few teams that went into a
now.
World
There used to be 24.
There used to be 24 and it got condensed. Now there's 32. Do you go to 36? Do you go to 48? You know, it just makes football less exciting.
They run out of countries eventually. There's two countries I'd never heard of playing this year.
Yeah. A few weeks ago, Kev actually made a good point about the Conference League. He said it's basically like the Intertoto. And that's the way I look at it. It's like a long form Intertoto Cup, basically. I agree, Borgie. I think, you know, you look at the wider point. The prestige of these competitions, I think, has taken a hit. I think the Europa League, what used to be UEFA Cup, you know, I think was more prestigious back in the day as well. But you know, like I say, if you offered me Conference League, I would still take it for the season we've had this season, because I just think it's a useful shortcut into like Europa League, and then you can kick on from there. Because if you're in Europa League again, you win that, you win Champions League. So, yeah.
Do you think Eddie would actually play a lesser team in the Europa League or the Europa Conference? Do you think he'd actually do that? He would take the hit on those competitions?
I'm very wary that he would. I don't think. I haven't got full confidence that he would do that at this moment. I haven't seen enough to say that he has my trust to execute that sort of rotation that I think you need. So, I think it's quite admirable in one way, in that I think he looks at the next game. I just want to win every game. But I think, is it again coming from a place of fear? I think he needs to take a step back and be a bit more ruthless and trust the squad a bit more and trust younger players a bit more. And it's easier said than done when it's his neck on the line, but I think there needs to be an understanding that if it doesn't go right, you can't necessarily put it on the manager because he's trying to juggle everything. Got a super chat there, Win.
Yeah. Walt would love a Mickey Mouse Cup. As in, Walt
would just love to get off the bench. I think for a change would be the best thing for him.
I think he's got a pun on Walt Disney there as well.
I know he does. I know what he meant.
Well, speaking of Walt, Craig Hope mentions in the article Voldemort, and he says that Voldemort is frustrated, but he doesn't want out. He says there's been a lot of noise around Voldemort in Germany, but his information is that Voldemort is frustrated by the lack of playing time and believes that he is worth a more prominent role. His camp, he says, were in attendance at the weekends where he didn't get on the pitch against Brighton. Craig Hope goes on to say that sources have played down, however, the idea of him wanting to leave. What he wants between now and the end of the season is more minutes on the pitch. I mean, just to cut to it, we've spoken of Voldemort, you know, we've done it to death, haven't we? But do you think, Ian, Eddie Howe will keep Voldemort or not?
I hope so. I hope Howe has been looking forward all season to finally getting his new signings.
Do you think he will, though? You hope he does. Do you think he will?
I think he's going to look absolutely ridiculous if he can spend 70 million quid getting spent on him, or whatever it was, and then not play him for the second half of the season, with all of the fans, or the majority of the fans, thinking that he hasn't been given a fair crack yet. Don't know what you were doing there, goalkeeper. I've just spotted
Mickey Mouse.
Oh, sorry, I was replying to was as a chat.
Yeah. So I think that I mean he bigged him up, didn't he? Bigged him up after the Arsenal game, so he can see that there's a player there. I'm hoping that the failure of being able to integrate him into a team and to change the way that we played is down to not having any pre-season, not having any training time with them.
Mm.
And let's be honest, economically, we've got to try and make Voltemara and Wissa work. Can I be taking losses on those two guys? So yes, I'd say yes.
I'm unsure. You know, I think if we get a bid for Voltemara, it seems like Eddie Howe might be tempted because he could spend that money on others. But we are cutting it fine now. It's 11 o'clock. But just to wrap up, Craig Hope also mentions that we have taken former Sunderland assistant boss James Fowler to arrive as scouting operations manager. So
he's
we
one
are
of Jack
doing.
Ross's buddies.
Is he? There you go. There you go. So we are doing a lot of good work, it seems, you know, in the
Hang on,
academy.
can I just ask a quick question on that?
Yep.
I know we're running out of time now. I'm going to take over, but tough. In regards to that, why the hell we're doing that at this time of the season? Why hasn't that been done before these guys got in? If you need somebody to go out and scout for players or get your players in, why hasn't that been done earlier? You know, we're way too far into the end of the season now to be doing that sort of thing.
Well, presumably they've got a body of work that they've been doing for the last season, so we'll reap the rewards of whatever he's had lined up for Sunderland.
So,
yeah.
But do you think well, it was Rangers, wasn't he? He wasn't at Sunderland. He was Rangers.
No, this is somebody else.
Yeah, you're thinking of Jack Ross, aren't you? So this is somebody else who's coming to help Jack Ross. It seems.
Jack Ross from Rangers, isn't he?
From Rangers, not from Sunderland.
That's what I
said.
He's
former Sunderland assistant boss. All right, okay. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, so Wilson knew Jack Ross, and he also worked at Rangers with this Murray that's come in, and the new one we're getting from Sunderland has worked with Jack Ross when Jack Ross was manager at Sunderland.
And yeah, he'll be responsible for the European scouting operation, and he'll work closely with the academy director. So, like,
but hang on, should after Wilson's been here for nearly how long has he been here? Nearly a year. Should that not already have been in place?
I think he's got to do
that position not already have been in place. Let's be honest.
Well,
maybe, but he's got to do the background work, doesn't he? Yeah, he's got to search out these people and make a judgment.
It's not an overnight thing.
I'm not saying it's I'm not saying it's a bad thing getting that position in, but I'm saying if you needed that position, why has it took bloody so long again to get somebody in? It takes us so long to get people in, even in backroom positions.
It might
do jobs.
Yeah, possibly it might have been that they didn't think they needed that. They've created a position there that they now deem necessary that they didn't feel was when they first went in there that they needed. But now they've been there. Ross Wilson has looked at it. He's thought, right, we need to do something here. So what I want to know is why is Shola Amiobi still there, basically? I think that's more of a...
That's another question for another day. What I want to know is if they've appointed this guy to be specifically European scout, why the hell haven't we appointed somebody from Europe? Somebody from, Ajax have always had a fantastic youth scouting system. Why haven't we appointed somebody from Ajax?
I hate to say it. I hate to say this, Win, but if he's from Rangers, he will be from Europe.
I'm talking
Scotland's
about
still Europe?
From continental Europe.
Oh, right.
Where he's got Belgium, Germany, Denmark, Norway on his doorstep.
Can we put Team Bruno's point up there? Because I think we all agree with that.
Gary, don't go. Borky needs to go.
Quite happily, mate. If Gary will stay, I'll go quite happily.
Well, on that note, I think that's a wrap.
We'll get.
Incidentally, I have just checked out on the maximum 10 teams. Not true. Theoretically, you could have more than 10 teams. That would rely on getting 7 in the Champions League, which is exactly what we've just talked about, and winning the two other the Champions League, Europa League, and Conference, which is what we're talking about happening. And then you can't have more than 10.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. Geordie Dan says PIF process to filibustering. Yeah. And Foxy says
there's no law in place saying you can't have more than 10 teams in the European League, surely.
No, it's all to do with the qualification.
Yeah.
I mean, just on that comment by Foxy, I mean, I'm sorry, like, but well, what does he do then? And then also with Amiobi, like, what's his credentials to do that job? I mean, like, I know he's the Mackham Slayer, and you know, fair play for that. You know, who doesn't love the 5-1? But he was an awful player for Newcastle for the majority of the time he was there. So he stole a living. You know, I think like people kind of maybe, I don't know, maybe forget how bad he was at times. And don't get us wrong, he's local lad, and it's good to have a Geordie like in the setup. But I'm just confused why, because he was there under Ashley, you see. So it just seems strange that he's been kept on. I don't know, what does he do then if he doesn't just decide where the players?
Well, I was going to say, saying you do know that he doesn't decide where the players go out on loan. Well, hang on, that's his title.
Yeah,
loan manager.
Yeah,
if that's not what he does, what the hell does he do?
For them? Yeah,
exactly.
It's a strange one. I'm not a fan of Shola, fortunately.
No, I think if just look at his body of work and it's rubbish.
You've got to ask in any position Shola gets at this club. If he's the answer, what is the question? You know, if there's a question there, then it's the wrong question. Basically, he's done nothing for her. You know, he's a nothing player, and yet he seems to be just loved by a certain percent of the club.
He was lucky that Bobby Robson was so keen on giving him so many chances, because he wasn't good enough.
Do you know what the highlight of Shola Amiobi's career was? When he did the interview and they says to him, "What's your nickname by Bobby Robson?" And he went Colcourt. You know, that was the highlight of his career, basically, you know, and that shows it all. He's done nothing for this club.
No, he had 3 good seasons.
Nothing.
Yeah, he had 3 good seasons.
What did he do? Come on, let's be honest.
Yeah, he had a good season when in the Championship. And then the following 2 seasons when we got promoted, he was useful. He was quite good at times. But between that, like before and after, my word, I'm watching a player who at times isn't even running. Do you know what I mean? He's a Geordie, but he's not even running for that ball at times. And I know there was a bit of a spat with the fans. I think he was being called out. And yeah, he was a young player as well. Maybe it wasn't easy for him. But like you say, Peter, he was so lucky that Sir Bobby had a soft spot for him, because if he didn't, he was born offside, and I think he would have been at another club, sharpish, if another manager was there who wasn't so lenient.
You know what the other best thing he did? Do you ever remember the MTV interview where he went through his house and he was going, "This is my radio. It's the best radio in the world. This is my guitar. It's the best." You know, he had nothing about him. I just don't get him whatsoever as a player.
He was good.
Yeah,
Kev knows him quite well. I think Kev knows him quite well. He likes him. Says he's a good lad.
I thought that.
His credentials.
The luckiest thing for
Shola is that he's done the job. He's done the job for 5 years.
He was in the same junior team as Chopra, and he was constantly picked ahead of Chopra simply because Chopra was 5'2" and he was 6'4", and they wanted a big centre forward, and that really didn't stop England picking Chopra.
You know what the weird thing is, though? Some fans, I know in this chat, even then, fans absolutely love him, and I just don't get it in my head. It's a bit like, you know, some things that you can't quite pick up as a human being, and there'll be people who absolutely love Shola Amiobi, but I just never got why. What did he do for?
Like Timmy says, the last few seasons he'd done okay, and he kind of came good, but before that he just done my head in watching him as a player. So I think Sammy had more potential. Sammy Amiobi, he had more talent than Shola.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it didn't work out, did it? With Sammy, and he regrets. I think he said before that he wishes that maybe he could have had more chances and maybe just stuck at it at Newcastle, not left when he had the opportunity to go. But I have been, like I said, like you say, Peter, the back end of the few seasons his career at Newcastle, sure, like he did a bit better. But yeah, before that, no, I'm sorry, but not
Awful.
really my cup of
Before that.
tea. Oh, you know, you can watch the games back, the evidence is there, and I think, yeah, maybe it was too much for him, but the application at times, yeah, wasn't great in terms of, you know, it was a jog instead of a run at times. And I'm sure he's a great lad. He comes across a great lad now when you see him speak, but it wasn't what we needed at the time. And Lawar, by the way, I think was a really good talent, and he didn't get the games I think he could have got because Lawar could have bounced off Shearer a lot better. Going back a bit, but yeah, I think I've had that gripe for a long time, so I want to get it off my chest. And yeah, Lawar was the one showing the door, and I think maybe Shola could have been showing the
Yeah, I
door.
love Lawar.
Just before we do go, Lee talk sense. Yes, 100%. That's completely correct. You know, we don't lie on this channel, so yes, Ian is Kev's dad.
Whether I'm Kev's dad.
I was going to ask. Is that,
Right, Lee Talk Census saying Kevin Bogey versus Jefferson and Gary naked pillow fight.
there you go. Netflix.
I wouldn't watch that.
There wouldn't be
The
much to
truth
whack
is that
around
I'm
for me,
actually
lads.
I'm actually Kev's mother. Is the truth.
So he is your son, yeah?
He is my son, but I'm his mother, not his father.
Anything else you just want to get off your chest?
Wait till Ian
part?
comes with his lightsaber out going, Kev, you are my son.
No, I think that's
NUFC Talk.
I just thought I had to say something when I was trying to make a joke out of Jefferson having called him a muppet.
Oh, don't mention Jefferson again. We can't get him that many comments in the chat.
No, but I mean, it wouldn't have offended Kev at all. I don't think. I wasn't watching.
Foxy's just had a quick comeback there. Shola's job is to identify opportunities and manage the players' transition day to day. Others above him decide where players go. This isn't about, I agree, this isn't about him as a player.
Yeah.
But it just seems weird that someone who was, by and large, an awful player for Newcastle is rewarded for that to get a role at the club. I know I'm sounding a bit harsh there, but, you know, I'm going off. I watched him firsthand, you know, from 2002 onwards or 2001 onwards. But, you know, I know he might be a canny lad. I'm not denying that. But, yeah, is he qualified for that job? That's what I'm wondering.
Well, maybe he's shown after he's retired that he has got the acumen to pull off that role. But as everyone points out, they look at the loans and they look at the fruit of that labour, and a lot of our loans haven't worked out. But I suppose, is that necessarily his fault? We don't know the finer details, do we? But we do need to improve that department in terms of getting players out who do develop, so we can use them when they come back. There's no doubt about that.
100%.
Anything else, lads, you just want to bring up and dissect?
Well, I'm not Wynn's dad, for one thing, Lee, but apart from that, nothing from me.
No?
No, I think that's
Win, who's the daddy?
much done. Win, who's the daddy? I'm the daddy, you know that.
All four.
5.
Yeah. He was in the 80s. He was all over the northeast.
Exactly.
In that cab.
He's Mr. Newcastle.
In his 80s.
The best taxi driver in Newcastle. Oh, no.
Do it again, Win.
Wins everyone's start.
Well, you're still a taxi driver now, Win, trying to tell them how to do the job. When I've seen it firsthand.
Oh,
you heard him shout at them.
Exactly. You need to get back on the road, mate.
Where the hell are you going?
Show them how it's done.
You going? You know, bloody sat nav rules now. Local knowledge went out the window. The knowledge went out the window. I used to need the A to Z about once a month.
The extra few 20 pences on the meter went out the window, you mean? You know, drive a little bit of a longer way around. I was working
by the tariffs they're working for now, I'll tell you that.
Just very quickly, I know it's a discussion for another day, but it seems that Iriola's apparently quite close to joining Crystal Palace. So that's That's a surprising one. If that does happen, I thought you'd go
Well,
to a
you know
bigger
what?
club than Palace.
That'll do me, because in a year's time, if it doesn't work with Eddie, then we can go to Palace and be like, "Yeah, come to Newcastle," and you'll come to Newcastle from there. So that'll do.
Well,
Really,
he's got.
It's
I tell
compromise.
you what, he's got big shoes to fill at Crystal Palace. You know, if
Is that
Glasgow
a step
he's won their
backwards?
first
Is that
FA
a
Cup, and now he's potentially winning the Conference League.
But I'm saying, is that a step backwards? Really?
It's a weird one.
Yeah,
It's a
like I said, I
strange old
thought you'd
decision.
go
It's just sideways, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
at best.
At best.
I thought there'd be
I
bigger clubs.
think
You're saying that.
Palace are a bigger
Yes,
club than Bournemouth.
Yes, you're saying that, but Palace have won the FA Cup. They're about to win the Conference League.
But can you imagine
Yeah.
if Bournemouth
Charity Shield.
got Champions League though? Bournemouth could get Champions League, and he leaves and goes to Palace.
He'll be happy with the Europa League next year and Champions League the year after.
Mm.
That'd be what he's thinking.
Yeah.
They probably got twice the crowd and a lot more money to spend.
Well, you know what? That's a good point, because if Palace do win the conference, it will be very interesting to see how Areola deals with Europe next season, won't it? If he's there, that's the big question, isn't it? Everyone says about him. You know, how can he handle
Does he
2
deal
games
with
a
3
week?
games a week? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, with that style of play and stuff, and that's going to be really interesting if he is there and he's got those games to juggle. So the question will be answered, like so.
I would have said it wasn't backward. I think it was probably a sideways move as it stands at the moment, I would say. It's certainly not a leap forward, though, is it? It's not.
No, definitely not.
And it also means that
Real Madrid.
yeah, it's not Real Madrid, obviously, but it means that Man United, he was linked with Man United recently, and it seems like they're going to give the job to Carrick. And I'm happy with that, because I've got grave doubts that, well, not grave doubts, but, you know, a lot of doubts that Carrick will not be the man long term, and I'll be happy with that.
I think that could be a bit harsh, actually, because if you look at the job he's done so far, and his Man U, you know, not born and bred, but through and through, you know, he's the majority of his top playing career was spent there under the greatest manager of the lot, so he knows how things should be done. No, I think he can do a great job there. I think he's proven it, really.
For me,
He's
he hasn't proven it.
He's proven nothing at Middlesbrough, really, has he?
Well, that's the thing.
To say that he should be running Man United, and it just looks a little bit like Solskjaer, who did well on his caretaker so well that he got the job, and then did bugger all, really. I mean,
I think Solskjaer didn't do too bad in hindsight. Yeah, I think Solskjaer did a decent job, but I think was he the man to really take them to the level of winning the league and stuff? And I think the same with Michael Carrick, and I think Man U, they just need to be ruthless, and it's easier said than done, because say Luis Enrique, he might not want to go to Man United if they approach him. But if they can get somebody like him, then I think they should. And to be fair, even liking Areola, I think he would have been maybe a good option for them, because I think his body of work is far superior to Michael Carrick's at Middlesbrough. And yes, you look at these last 5 months, Carrick, I don't doubt he's done a great job, but I think a lot of it is that happy feeling, if you like, and getting the buzz back and lifting the weight off everyone's shoulders of the misery that was before, where the previous
but in all seriousness, why isn't Eddie Howe forward of the queue for Man United? Everybody sits here and says he's such a good manager. Why isn't he front of their queue for their job?
He's taken a hit this season, hasn't he? I mean, they did want him. Ashworth definitely wanted him, I think, when he was there for Man United, and others disagreed, so there was a split. But yeah, Eddie Howe's taken a hit this season, but I think with Man United specifically, again with Michael Carrick, they're in a tough position, because there is the clamour now to give Carrick the job full time, and I think that they can't really see past that. Maybe Eddie Howe would have been in contention a bit more if Man United had stumbled to finish the season, and it was a case they had the caretaker there just for that time. Maybe I think they might have looked at Eddie Howe and said, you know what, he could be somebody that could rebuild us. But it's how it all works out, isn't it?
Well, was it not Craig Hope just the other day saying Chelsea or after Howe?
I don't think he'd go there, would he, with that setup?
I don't think he would either. But, you know, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You know,
But are Chelsea not a bigger
short
club
of
for him?
job offers. Put it like that.
It's a setup, Borky. Honestly, I think a lot of managers will be sceptical. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe they'll get a big manager this summer, but they've got all those directors who want to pick everything as to what's going on. And yes, you want that collaboration, but it's very much one way, it seems, at Chelsea. But yeah, I mean, Eddie Howe was taking a hit, though, this season. I think there's definitely doubts now in terms of big clubs looking, thinking, can he juggle the European games, etc. I think he's a good manager, but I think there's a lot more questions now over how suited he is to that level, maybe.
Yeah.
Right, lads, it's 11:20. Anything else you're going to say there, Win?
I was just going to say, as things stand, we can potentially get 54 points.
And what's the lowest we can finish? We can still go in the bottom three, can't we?
Which would put us in sixth place right now.
But I'm saying, Win, where's the lowest we can finish?
I'm not talking about the lowest. I'm talking about where we can get.
But you've got to be realist. You've got to be in control. We're talking about this.
You can be the realist. I'm looking at where we can get to. So
I think we will win some games. Yeah, I think we will.
At the minute,
hang on. Can I just quickly ask on that? You're doing that off points possible, but is that taking into consideration teams that play each other?
Right.
So they can't possibly lose points?
I'm just going to tell you, Bournemouth, their last three games are Fulham away, Man City at home, and Forest away. Last game of the season, who could be fighting for their lives. Brentford have got who have they got at the weekend?
Jesus Christ!
I know they've got horrendous.
Go through here,
Brentford have got Man City away, local Derby Palace at home, who will have their feet up now, so that you could say they'll get 3 points there. And their last game is, I know it's a stinker, Liverpool away. So they've got Liverpool away, Man City away, and Palace at home. And they are currently on 51. That would put them on 54 also. Brighton, who are on 50, so they would need 4 points to get better than 40 points. Brighton have got, I think Brighton have got the easiest run in the environment. They've got Leeds away, but Leeds are in good form. Man United at home. Couldn't say that's a gimme. That's their last game of the season. Leeds away and Brighton. Where are they?
Have you got anything nice booked for your holidays, lads?
I'm assuming it must be Crystal Palace because it must be one of the rearranged games. Or Man City. You know, the ones who are behind with their fixtures. But it's not on the official match day. I haven't got a one.
It's too late for me to be doing these calculations like Win.
I know.
To admit.
Well, Win
I'm
never
just saying, Champions League is not out of the question.
Yeah, I've got my fingers crossed.
Well,
Champions League's not out of the question. Are you kidding us? Champions League?
No, I'm not kidding at all.
Is that what you said, Champions League? I thought you said Europa League. Right.
Jesus Christ.
Europa League well in consideration.
Champions
League is 4 points away.
It's crazy when you put it up like that, but
of course it is. But equally, as Bogey would have us, let's not forget, if we don't get any more points, then we could be 17th, assuming West Ham, Forest, Spurs, and Crystal Palace and Leeds all will all their games.
I'll be happy
before we end this show. I think we're going to have to end the show now. Can we all agree that even if we don't get Europe, we all club together and get in with a nice little package holiday away in Europe, so at least it gets away somewhere.
We'll have to sort something out, like definitely.
Yeah, we'll have to. As a panel, we'll make sure you get the Europe win. Don't you worry.
We'll have a group trip.
You've stood firm all this time, Win, so we'll sort something. But Bob, just quickly, I would say that the fixtures,
that's
I think,
awful. Always.
There you go. I think Forest is a good time to play them. Obviously, been playing tonight. Yeah. Fulham at the end of the season. Maybe if they've got nothing to play for, we'll see by then. We'll know more at that point. Good time to play them. And the game between West Ham, they're desperate now. You know, the fixtures are quite good now for Newcastle. So, you know, I think we might win at least one more. But we'll leave it there, lads. Thank you very much to everyone watching. Really appreciate all your support, all your comments, all your super chats, and yeah, all your memberships as well. Keep on watching, keep on supporting. But we'll leave it there. All I've got to say is, away the lads.
We're the lads.
Lasses and Bairns.
Lasses and Bairns.